drivers. Start your engines!
Ready. Green flag. All rolling. All the way out. Stay in. Come on. Bye-bye, Sonny. See you later. These guys are really good. Keep digging. Stay in the gas. Hang on, dude, baby. Did not hit a thing. Why are you waiting so long, man? Bottom clear, shaking you down here. White flag. Hit your mark.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another wild, wonderful, and wacky Wednesday night of NWP. I am your host, Eric Estep, joined, as always, by Jarrett Lundberg, a.k.a. The Iceberg. And down here underneath is Danny B. Danny B Talks, representing the very topical Alex Bowman this week. We've got lots of good stuff coming your way tonight. We're going to talk Darlington. We'll preview the playoffs round by round. There's some breaking news from The Athletic regarding RFK's future. There's always some good charter drama to talk about and so much more. But first, gentlemen, how you all doing? We survived the 26-race regular season. How's everyone hanging in there?
Well, I'm coming out of it feeling rough. I'm under the weather or something this week. So
Oh, shoot.
I'm great other than my throwback, and I'm not talking about the hat. I think I told you guys before we went live my throwback this week. I was away for the weekend, as a lot of people might have saw, and I didn't realize there was, like, at the top of the window right here, there was a tiny little hole, and when I got back to my office on Monday night, my fiance or dog did not come in here. There was like 100 flies, and so there's 3 iceberg flies, like in the old garage, who are just buzzing around here.
Wow. They brought backup this time.
I had to go back to my Vikings roots and just raid all of them. So.
Oh my gosh, we need do we have fly emojis in the chat, or is that only on your channel, Jarrett?
I don't have a mind. If they have a fly emoji on their phone or something, then
they're saying Flybergs in the chat. I like that. Is that did we call it that? Flyberg?
I think at one point we did, because it was so often.
there actually is a fly emoji. If you search for it on the YouTube chat,
there it is. Oh my gosh, it's scary. Oh, our chat is destroyed by flies.
I want
infested.
to fly like an insect.
Well, Danny, Danny, I'm sorry you're not feeling too good.
I want the AI chat description to say the chat is spamming the fly emoji.
That's what we need. Well, we got a full show ahead. We shouldn't waste too much time with idle chit chat. Danny, I'm sorry you're not feeling too good. Hopefully you're able to stick with us for the next, 4 hours or however long these shows usually go.
Yeah, I wish I could say my voice is just out from yelling for the balls this weekend, but it's not that. I'm feeling kind of sniffly, stuffy, and sore throat this week.
But you didn't have much to yell about on Saturday. It was pretty slim or easy pickings, I guess, for a typical week one. The real stress comes later in the season. Let's start with Darlington. Chase Briscoe walks it off. I think we should just start with the winner. He holds off Kyle Busch in the closing laps. 2 drivers desperate for wins, desperate for playoff spots, and Briscoe beats Busch, just like in that Xfinity finish in 2020. I'll start with you, Jarrett. Chase Briscoe was 18th in the regular season standings. I think he's 17th after that win. Doesn't matter now. It's playoff time. Briscoe is in, bumps Buescher, bumps Bubba. Ross misses out. How do you feel about Chase Briscoe pulling off the upset at Darlington?
I feel like this is an elevated version of the conversation we had about Harrison Burton last week. And so...
What do you mean by elevated?
Points wise, very much, very much so. So I'm going to, again, separate them like I did last week. The playoff side, it is what it is at this point. It's better than 3 at least of the drivers who are in there, maybe 2, give or take. We'll get into those who missed in a bit, but I want to talk about the story wise and the moment itself, because I like separating those from championships. And championship conversation, as I see one of the flies that I swatted earlier is like crawling on the wall like a zombie with half its legs falling off. Anyway, I'm really happy not only for Chase Briscoe but that entire team, because a lot of people will it's kind of one of the underlying stories is Stewart-Haas Racing. That probably will be their last win. maybe not. It's good to have a bookend of the 14 and someone who grew up as a Stewart fan, winning in that team, bringing a win. Tony Stewart will probably find out by next year when the news comes to him.
Has anyone called him yet? Does he even know?
He's probably like, probably not. I don't even have a good joke for that because I burned my first one.
The joke is too real.
It is.
It's funny because it's true.
It is. But also just for Chase and Marissa Briscoe after everything they went through in 2020 and that emotional win. And then if you look at those back to back, those moments, and it's that first moment of Chase alone in tears on one of the worst days of his life, a day that I hope nobody would have to go through. And then you compare it to 4 years later, right? And he's won one of the biggest crown jewels in NASCAR. He's holding his son. His wife is carrying their twins, and he's surrounded by people who love and care about him. Like just on a human aspect. Oh, yeah. Those are moments that you love in racing.
Oh, and 2 very popular wins in a row in that respect.
Yeah, and that track will forever be connected to his life. And in a special way that I don't think anyone outside of a driver like a Dale Jr. at Daytona could ever understand. And to me, that's I think what the main focus should be on. I know that the big picture, it shouldn't, it'll fall into the background a little bit, but that's what I choose to focus on, to be a more positive fan, I guess, if you will.
Well, I think that was very well said. And I going back to our Tony Stewart joke, Peter Strada in the chat has an interesting stat here. Stewart never won at Darlington. So it's pretty wild that the 14 car goes to victory lane, potentially for the final time.
If I'm not mistaken, Tony also, I don't think, won the Coke 600, and I know he didn't win the Daytona 500, so kind of...
I thought he did win at least one Coke 600.
Hall of Fame snub.
They can correct me if I'm wrong. I know we didn't win Daytona.
GN says that Tony Stewart did congratulate Briscoe on Twitter. I missed that, but okay. The joke was funnier when we but before.
The joke was funnier in ignorance.
Yeah. But no, very well said.
Tony never did win a Coke 600. He just drank a lot of Coke, so I just always assumed he won a Coke 600.
Soda cookies. You know they're making those now?
I saw pumpkin spice Oreos the other day. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Fall is almost here.
You hear pumpkin spice and a Karen rises out of the ground of a pumpkin.
How are they making soda cookies?
It's like I can't remember what brand it was, but it's like a brand had partnered up, I think, with like Coca-Cola or something. And
yeah, it's like Coca-Cola flavored Oreos or something ridiculous, or no, Oreo flavored Coca-Cola is what it is.
Yeah,
I mean, I can see it because I think it's Cracker Barrel has like a Coca-Cola infused chocolate cake, so I can see it.
Oh, the great crack house.
That does sound good. But no, very well said, Jared, about what this win means for Chase Briscoe and all of Stewart-Haas Racing, all the talk. I thought Richard Boswell, as crew chief during that NBC interview on the pit box, saying that, hey, we've had hundreds of SHR employees who put up with a lot of nonsense this year. This is for them, especially those who've stuck around through it all. I remember Rodney Childers at the beginning of this year when Stewart-Haas first announced the shutdown, expressed how difficult it would be to hold on to people as the season got later and later. And especially as the playoff outlook for each driver looked bleaker and bleaker, I'm sure that was even tougher. So I don't know how many people are at the shop now grinding it out day in, day out to bring these cars to the track, but this win was for those people. And it's certainly, they can wear it like a badge of honor for the rest of this year. Stewart-Haas going out with the win. They have a car in the playoffs. Danny, what was your reaction to Briscoe beating Kyle Busch? Because we know Kyle Busch was also desperate for a victory.
So before Kyle Busch actually had the run going, I'm not about to say what TV said he was doing. I don't know if you guys caught what Jeff Burton said Kyle Busch was doing on his big restart, but I'm not going to use that terminology this week.
I might have missed it.
Chat, put it in the chat if you know what it is, because I'm like actually curious. I had to have most of the broadcast muted on my end, and I wish I didn't.
He was doing something very hard. He had a hard run coming.
Oh, okay. I know. Yes. Yeah, they like using. I saw your tweet, Danny, and I think you're right.
They really need to find a way to get away from that. I know I like following that account that points it out, but man, they gotta stop setting themselves up for that. It's just getting to be so bad. But
Oh
anyways,
my
before
God,
Kyle Busch
Peter.
had
Sorry, Peter in the chat said he met NASCOM on Sunday pre-race.
No way. Wait, really?
Oh, that's
funny.
awesome.
That's funny.
Sorry, go ahead, Danny. I apologize.
I can only imagine what this chat's going to become with the AI at this point. But no, when before Kyle Busch had the run going, that huge move that Chase Briscoe made in the first place, I tweeted out he deserves a win just for pulling off that move alone,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
think he still did. But deep down, I was rooting for Kyle Busch because it just seems weird to not have him winning a race.
And he's been so good the last few weeks. They like right before the Olympic break. Remember, he was running 5th or 6th at Indy and wrecks himself. That was really bad. But then since the Olympic break, his teammate wins Richmond, and then Bush is 4th at Michigan, 2nd at Daytona, 2nd at Darlington. Like if he had
Yeah,
made the playoffs, snuck in with a win here in the 11th hour, I think Kyle Busch could have made a little bit of noise. Yeah, I'm not talking round of
think
8
of it
or
like that.
championship 4, but
In the last 4 races, RCR put out 3 top 2 cars.
Well,
Yeah.
and I mean, even, you look a little further, we talked about second, fourth, 12th at Richmond, but the 3 ended
Was
up
good, yeah.
winning, and deserved to win, just not in the way he did. But
Yeah.
but also Indianapolis before the break, I think he was running 6th when he wrecked.
Yeah, that's where he was. I think he was battling for 5th when he got loose under Hamlin or whoever that was, and it was bad. It was bad. Yeah, it's just for Kyle Busch. Sure, you needed to win. He was 100 points out, but he threw a lot of points away over the summer. So just what could have been. With how many winners there were, it was going to be tough to point his way in. As we'll discuss in a minute, I think the 11th place guy in points is not in the playoffs. Not quite as dramatic as when Truex missed a few years ago, being like 5th in points, but still pretty dramatic. Win and you're in. Chase Briscoe gets it done. Bubba Wallace did not win. Neither did Chris Buescher. I'm sure both of them will look back at some missed opportunities. For Bubba, I think of Michigan just a couple weeks ago. He had probably as good a car as his teammate and got caught up in that big Kyle Larson crash. That's tough. For Chris Buescher, I think about Kansas, where he was an inch short of beating Kyle Larson, or even Darlington Spring when Reddick got into him. We've seen that replay a dozen times this last weekend. Ross Chastain, I can't think of too many near misses for Ross, but I remember I looked back at the numbers. He had some races where he led a lot of laps, maybe didn't get the points he should have. I think about Texas, where I think he wrecked or got wrecked on the last lap while running 2nd. Like these guys all had their opportunities and it didn't fall their way for whatever reason. So Bubba, Buescher, Ross Chastain, the first 3 out. Danny, who stands out the most to you?
Bubba, I think he's had an overall pretty good season, but I think he said it best in one of his interviews that in this day and age, the way it works, not winning is just it's not good enough for him. It's not good enough to make the playoffs in this day and age in the sport unless you're the 2 guys who happen to do just good enough, Gibbs and Truex, to win. I think he realizes that. His team seems to realize that, and he knows that if they want to be in this, they got to find ways to win these races.
I'll go Buescher, just because Buescher's top 5 in average finish on the year. You look at where they finish on average, Buescher is the 5th best. That scrum, give or take, from about 6th, 7th, 8th, somewhere in there to about 13th is super close points wise. The difference between somebody in 5th and 13th this year is insanely close, way closer than recent years. Someone who's at like 13th, 14th in overall standings this year would usually be a top 10 driver, give or take. So for and you look to 12 top 10s on the year, he's got as many top 10s as Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, William Byron, Alex Bowman, all people that we expect to be in there. Denny Hamlin, all people who will be up in the playoffs. I don't want a bunch of upset winners making it over them as the sirens come. Just
Sound the alarm.
15 minutes in,
upset.
hang the banner.
If I can just say one more thing about Bubba, also the reason why that's such a shock to me and bummer to me is that 2311 has taken huge steps, and I think it's all came by getting Tyler Reddick. They won regular season championship with one driver, and the other car can't make the playoffs. And I will say the team I'm always going to compare them to is Trackhouse. Like they came in at the same time. They look like the cousins you're always going to be comparing each other to, and Trackhouse I feel like has regressed this year. Maybe they'll do better by having SVJ and at least looking better on road courses next year. But for them, Suarez made it in off a fluke, and Chastain who has had 2 win seasons the last 2 years, fails to make it. And but then 23-11 looks like they took a huge step forward this year. But for them to get one car to be the regular season champion and one to miss sets off a few, question marks there.
It's just frustrating because
Bad.
he's not. Bubba had a fine year. In fact,
It's his best
statistically,
year yet.
yeah, I was going to say
Yeah,
statistically, it's his
yeah.
best season. But to Danny's point, like Busher misses the playoffs. If you look at the numbers, he's comparable to his teammate Brad Keselowski. Ross Chastain missed the playoffs, but you look at the numbers, he's better than Daniel Suarez. I'm sorry. You look at Bubba Wallace, he missed. His numbers aren't close to Tyler Reddick's, unfortunately. And I think that's where people start to ask the questions.
I'll say on that point, Tyler Reddick is right there with Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson is probably the most talented in the sport.
Sure.
I think Bubba Wallace is a fine driver. I think in his best days, he's a good driver, a 6th to 10th place best driver out there when he's at his best, when his mind's clear,
I would agree.
when he's racing his best. But this isn't hating on Bubba Wallace. It's just plain facts. He is not going to be, and in my opinion, never will be as good as Tyler Reddick, because I think Tyler Reddick is an elite driver who's showing it out this year.
I think you're right. It's just tough because, Bubba was the first driver there. I think him being there is a large reason why they got Michael Jordan on board, so many major corporate sponsors initially and continue still. And, he's missed the playoffs, the owner playoffs, all 4 years. He made the driver playoffs last year because Chase Elliott went skiing. That's unfortunate. Like 4 years in and Bubba still he hasn't won in almost 2 years. Like that is just concerning. And, I look at this race in particular, a few people on other podcasts pointed this out, but the decision to stay out during, I think, the second to last caution period, when guys like Chris Buescher pit for fresh tires, I don't know that would have made a huge difference because Chase Briscoe ended up winning the race anyways, but like that was a bad pit call. So, Booty Barker and Bubba Wallace have been together almost this entire span. And I think Booty Barker's good. I think Bubba Wallace is good. At some point, we haven't seen enough growth from the two of them together that I wonder if 2311 will consider making major changes this offseason. I'm not saying Bubba's out. Bubba's not going anywhere more than likely. I don't even know that Booty Barker is out. Maybe there's other changes we can't see that need to be made. But this team was consistently 5 to 10 positions behind their teammate, and you can't say the same about some of these other guys who missed the playoffs. And it's enough to at least ask the question, what needs to be done to get the 23 car to the 45s level? Because even before Reddick got there, Kurt Busch was able to win, and his one and only half year in that car, so
I think Bubba Wallace is a Jamie McMurray level driver, and maybe he can elevate over that one day. Jamie McMurray, again, fine driver on his best days, best years, really good driver.
Sure.
But I also think there comes to be at some point where it's like you kind of hit the ceiling. I mean, unless you get the super team and everything perfect around him, I think he at his best, Bubba Wallace can make the round of 8. But it's almost like he's just set at this bubble range. Wherever the bubble's at, Bubba's at. It's like it's like rise to the occasion, but just enough to be in the conversation. I think in other years, especially Gen 6 years, Bubba Wallace this year would have made the playoffs because there'd be less winners. It's just that when you we talked about it before the show, and there's been a lot of talk about the playoffs, way more, I think, than usual to start it out, about like underdog winners and how it's flip-flopped a lot of stuff and who's the best to be in. But when you have, you go down the list, probably 34 chartered cars that with the right driver could win races, and with the right team. You didn't have that a couple years ago. And so there's going to be more of those that I think shake it up, and you're going to have to, instead of being a 11th to 14th place guy to make it on points, you're going to kind of have to just be in that top 10 the way that Ty Gibbs and Truex is. I think they can, but I think it's going to be a little more difficult to get someone like Bubba to do that compared to somebody like just going down like Buescher. Like I think Buescher would be easier.
Yeah. The steady consistent driver is becoming a dying breed. Now teams want guys who can light it on fire at a particular track type, or guys like Larson who have tons of raw speed, but whose racecraft sometimes suffer. They don't always show the best patience, make the best decisions in every moment. Like that's the kind of driver that teams are signing. SVG is going to struggle at probably 25 races next year, but for the other 10, he has a great shot at winning, and that's all that matters.
Because he can potentially have 4 or 5 wins. I forget how many road courses we have in regular season, because he can have potentially that many. That would put him very high in the playoffs list coming in.
I mean, look at the Xfinity Series this year. He's got 3 wins, and I think is like the 2 or 3 seed, and all of his wins came on road courses. Like he's one of the top Xfinity
I thought he was
Series
leading,
he might
second in playoff points at this point.
He might be. Last I checked, he was like second or third. Yeah, but like to Danny's point, with 5 road courses next year, a guy like SVG is extremely valuable. He's not going to be consistent, but he's going to be really fast, scary, good at a select few tracks. And that's the problem. I think right now Bubba is a pretty solid overall driver. He went on a really good, consistent summer stretch, but he's not the guy like a Reddick or a Larson who's just going to go, balls to the wall and just rip her around the top and shock you with his speed and win a race. Like that's just doesn't seem to be who he is. So,
and I want to dispel some of the things that people also say about Bubba, Buescher, Chastain, even Truex and Gibbs at this point. People are like, well, if they didn't wreck so much, it's like, yeah, if all these guys didn't wreck so much, they'd be higher in points. Like, that's just racing, Like, yeah, we can say, if Bubba has 2 less DNFs, or like if he doesn't have so much bad luck, it's like, okay, well, you can't really fix that too much. And usually if you have a lot of bad luck, you're in the middle of the pack. And the same thing goes, like a lot of people with Chastain, we talked about, it's like he bled points like he had torn open an artery of points here in this metaphor.
And there's plenty of bad luck. Like yeah. I hate to blame bad luck for everything, but Chastain was going to get a top 10 at Michigan, right? And got spun in one of those overtimes. I mentioned Bubba Wallace at Michigan. I think had one of the best cars. They chose tires over track position and were stuck behind Larson when he binned it. Like there is
Chastain had a ton of bad luck at the end of Nashville.
But at the same time, doesn't get too aggressive, or maybe just takes what's given at Texas, like even lets William Byron, I believe it was, by. Mm-hmm. That's what 30 more points he would have had. That's on him.
I had a controversial take that Larson ultimately lost the regular season championship because it rained. The rain messed up everything with Indy and Charlotte. And really, if it doesn't rain in Indy, he makes it to Charlotte, and we don't have this issue. But but people also pointed out to me he actually did a lot to throw it all away in the more recent races these last few weeks. So it wasn't all on that. But because he was only 1 point back, had it not rained a drop in Indy, he gets to Charlotte no problem, and he's the regular season champion.
And you know what? Like, I saw a lot of people on social media getting pissy at people for bringing that up, but it's like that is the only thing that you can definitively point to as for sure that would have changed it with how everything played out.
Just having 2 points for finishing second to last.
Well, and I even brought up too. I mean, do you? Serious question: do you think Kyle Larson runs better in the 5 car that night than Justin Allgaier?
Oh yeah, probably. I mean, Allgaier drove it to 13th with like no prior seat time.
So it's like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not like he shouldn't have stayed at Indy. Screw that other series. Like, no, that's a really cool deal, and he might never have that chance again. He should stay there. It's just sometimes these actions have consequences. Yeah.
Yep. These are the consequences. Well, I think we've kind of beat that to death. A few other drivers I want to mention here. We did just mention Kyle Larson. He dominated Darlington, led over 260 laps, swept the stages, but seemed to falter on a couple of the final restarts, ended up 4th.
Fun fact.
I could tell someone wants me to go off a little bit on the super chat later.
Well, fun fact for you, Kyle Larson, in leading 269 laps, led more laps in that race than Chase Elliott has led this season, than William Byron has led this season, and then Alex Bowman has led this season. Because let's see, going down the list here, Elliott has 201 laps led, Byron 259, and Bowman 14. So Bowman and Elliott combined have not led as many laps this season as Kyle Larson led in that race. That's insane.
Yeah. And Larson hit the 1,000 mark. I believe he's the only driver to hit 1,000 laps led on the season. Yeah, that super chat we just got from Matthew Brown is begging.
There's a reason I'm wearing this one. There's a reason.
That's a great, just a quick aside. Thank you all so much for the super chats. We will get to the first super chat stage break here in about half an hour, and we will address each and every one of these super chats. Thank you all for the support. We're also trying to get to, was it 700 likes tonight, Jarrett? That is a tall order to unlock the random driver of the week segment. Always a fan favorite, but we got to hit the big 700, almost 700 people watching right now.
If they don't want to play the game, I mean, I get it, guys. I totally get it if you just don't feel like playing it. And I understand sometimes you just don't feel like
might hurt our feelings a little,
that
but
like button.
Jarrett puts a lot of work into coming up with these random drivers every week. Like, you really don't want to let him down. But I mean, whatever, it is what it is. Sorry, Jarrett, I did interrupt you. I think you were in the middle of saying something. I'm sorry. I don't hope you didn't lose your train of thought.
The only thing I was going to say is the next closest to Kyle Larson, I believe, is Denny Hamlin, who's like 160 back in laps led.
So Kyle Larson with a dominant showing, just lost it a little at the end there. And
he blew it on that restart. I mean, Ross Chastain had lesser tires, and Kyle Larson just straight up got beat.
Ross got a hell of a jump, and then Larson was stuck with, I think it was Ty Gibbs, right? And that's what opened the door up for Briscoe to go 3 wide. And at that point, I think that was the most dirty air Larson had dealt with in the entire night.
That move by Briscoe was beautiful.
Oh yeah, like Danny said earlier, that is a highlight reel. We're going to be replaying that one for years.
That needs to be in the advertising.
Yes. That's what you use for advertising, not crashes.
Mm-mm.
Well,
Exactly.
but basically that just became the better version of what he tried to do at Dirt Bristol a couple years ago.
Yeah, this one actually stuck. Believe me, the moment he made that move, I was thinking Dirt Bristol, and I was like, "Oh, don't!" and it stuck.
I was there that night, and I was like, "Ooh, it's looking awful familiar."
Oh, he held on. Or what was it? Was it Charlotte that same year? Didn't he wipe out under somebody?
Yeah.
Larson or
Larson, I think
was.
it was.
Yeah. Oh
Might
man,
have been.
I was like,
Or was it Redding?
I've seen this before. It doesn't usually go well. Oh, it worked.
Using lessons, learn from his past mistakes.
Yeah. Speaking
By the
of,
way, if anyone sees stuff coming from over here, it's not spooky season.
He's hotboxing.
There's no hot boxing happening here. This
Danny,
is
who's your roommate? So you got some guys sleeping on your couch? Okay, all right, no, that's fine.
Tell Cheech I said hi.
Martin Truex Jr. Want to bring him up real quick because dude's already checked out. I swear he's already retired. He's on a lake somewhere, at least mentally. 2 laps into the Southern 500, he wipes out under Ryan Blaney, crashes himself. He goes
They
from
did everything they could to not make the playoffs.
58 points to the good. You basically just have to not do what he did, and you're in. Instead, he wrecks on lap 2. He makes it in by 6 points. 6 points. Martin Truex Jr., who had a phenomenal start to the year, didn't win, but was really consistent, struggled this summer, but boy, that was ugly.
I literally said in my preview video I made last week, I was like, as long as Truex doesn't wreck out and finish in the bottom 2 positions, he should be good to go for the night. And then, I was sitting at the I had my fantasy draft, like everyone was setting up and stuff. I'm sitting there watching the race, and we're like having our meeting about like all the procedures and rules for the year. And then I'm just looking down and he's go, oh my God. My dad's like, what happened? What happened? He's thinking, I'm like, like my mom texted me or something bad happened, or like Truex wrecked on lap, was it 4? And
2, I think it was lap 2.
2, and
maybe it was lap 4.
And he's just like, "Oh Jesus Christ, are you kidding me?" But I'm like, "It's a big deal, Dad. Like, it's a big deal." Like,
I felt for Blaney because Blaney had a good car in practice. Obviously, nothing he could do here. Just got just horrible luck, and it cost him at least 1 spot in the regular season standings, which is a playoff point. So that's a bummer for Blaney, no doubt. Lap 3, thank you, chat. Sorry,
we were close. We
split it.
Yeah,
yeah. Let's see. What do you guys think of Darlington being the regular season finale? Because I think when it was announced, everyone was like, "Oh man, Daytona fit that slot so well." But with the Olympics, they pushed it back. You liked it, Jared?
I've been against Daytona as the regular season finale for a while. I've just been like, it's part of where we're at now, and I know it's going back next year, and it'll be that way pretty much every year. I'd be down for Darlington like this. Honestly, I'd be willing to sacrifice a spring Darlington race for a Darlington finale. I really would.
So you have like a Darlington on Labor Day and then another one in November?
And I know that would be difficult for fans, and I'm guaranteed the finale, you probably have to close like some of the stands up to make it look full. But racing-wise and challenge-wise with that track, and the fact that geographically it's one of the few tracks ISC owns that I don't think
Might
would
be
too
warm
bad.
enough.
I know people are like, oh my God, it's going to be in the 50s. Like, oh, woo, okay. Like I lived up north. It was, negative 50 when I was
Have
in
you
college.
seen the NFL crowds in January?
They're tougher than NASCAR crowds. Sorry, NASCAR fans.
I don't know.
We're,
I don't know
we're
about
weak
that.
with weather. I'm sorry. When we're talking about the frigid 30-degree Kansas race I went to, which it felt cold as hell, but like that was nowhere near as bad. Like that's 60 degrees warmer than like the worst I've sat in for a sporting event. At least wind chill wise.
Okay.
I'd be down for Darlington as a finale. I
Yeah.
like the idea of a driver's racetrack. You have to be the absolute best talent-wise.
Sure.
You can race any time of the day, Saturday night, Sunday evening, whenever. I would love that. I know it's not going to happen more than likely, but I personally love the drama that came from it, and I love the slow burn into an amazing blooming flower of a finish.
Yeah, because it was an okay race before the final stage. So counterpoint, one, obviously, yes, it would be tough to maintain the Labor Day tradition and do a finale in late October, early November. Those dates would be pretty close together. Possible, kind of weird. But my counterpoint would be a championship race is great, but it focuses only on 4 drivers. I think Darlington's the kind of track, because we've now seen guys like Regan Smith, Eric Jones, throw Chase Briscoe into the mix, some surprises pop up. That's why I think it fits as a late regular season race or a playoff opener when we're talking about 10, 15, 20 guys that really matter. And a lot of things happen, jostling for position, guys coming and going, a surprise winner like Briscoe. So that would be my only counterpoint. Yes, a championship finale at Darlington, the setting would be superb, but I actually like having more drivers in play.
I will say, and I get that. I don't. My thing is that's a broadcast problem. That's not a track issue. Like that's the broadcast.
No, but there's still like stakes. Like, you know what I mean? Like if last year, who was not in the championship? Tyler Reddick wasn't in the championship for last year. Who won? Ross Chastain won last year. We barely talked about Ross Chastain afterwards. All the interviews were Blaney.
Because that was the broadcast.
But like nobody, go to Twitter. Nobody was really worried about Ross Chastain.
Go back to
talking
the
about
Chase.
Blaney.
Go back to the Chase era, and you watch these races where like Greg Biffle won, Jeff Gordon won. Like they got interviewed. It was champion, winner of the race, then the rest. That was an NBC botch, in my opinion.
No, but I'm saying leading up to that, like even like they weren't really showing. I mean, they were showing Blaney versus Chastain when Blaney was getting mad and they were right next to each other. But once Blaney fell off, they weren't showing Chastain anymore, and the fans didn't really. Nobody like that. Just there wasn't. It wasn't nearly as interesting about a non-playoff driver leading. Like, yeah, sure, the broadcast leaned into it, but I think they leaned into it because that's what the fans wanted to talk about. I mean, everyone talks about the championship at that point. So that's my only thing. It's with Darlington is I think it's best when you have 15 storylines instead of just 4.
I love the idea. One. I'll say this. Go back to the 2004 race when the first year they moved it off of Labor Day weekend. Not a smart move. But I mean, it was like picturesque looking at the end of that race. And I believe that was 1 or 2 weeks later than the finale would be now, because we have a compacted season. But I think that's just another one where I also have that gripe with the system is that we're only going to have to follow 4 guys when there are so many more interesting things that could happen. I think with that too is it fits the criteria of not being a complete crapshoot like a Daytona or Talladega finale would be, but I think it's way more challenging of a finale for the drivers. Like you would have to earn it.
I agree. I fully agree with.
Yeah. And I think racing wise, see, Darlington could at its best, and they're just damn fly. Darlington at its best, it's more challenging than Phoenix. It kind of is in that same bin as like Homestead, where it's difficult for the driver. You'd have to earn it. And it has more of a history and connection with fans that would actually want to tune in and watch than say like a Kansas race. Like I am all for Darlington one day having the finale. If you have like 4 tracks rotating, that needs to be in it. But that's just me. And I know I'm not big on the playoffs, so like that, I think that's a playoff broadcast issue more than anything. But I think it would leave a way better taste in my mouth than probably 90% of the tracks out there.
Black Solar says Daytona finale, but do the road course. No. Please erase that from my timeline. No.
There's like Earth 75 somewhere out there that probably has that as the finale.
Some alternate universe. Yes. Well, on that note, how do we want to do this? Do we want to do our playoff predictions?
Well, so I actually wanted to go with ask you guys, like, I'd just list off driver first before we do our predictions. And just,
Okay.
you guys say pretender or contender.
Ooh, okay. So you're gonna name. I don't want to repeat what you're about to say. You're gonna
Yeah.
name a playoff driver, and we say, okay,
Yeah.
I got it.
And we can just rapid fire them here. So Austin
Okay.
Cindric,
I mean, pretender.
Big pretender.
pretender.
I mean, he might get through the first round, but that's
Like,
I think best case.
some of these will be easy, but I think that the real fun will be a little later with it. So Kyle Larson.
No, he's a
Contender.
contender.
Okay. Denny Hamlin, contender.
Contender.
I'm just
Don't
gonna
put words
get.
in my mouth. No, yeah.
I'm gonna get through the easy ones quick because I want to get
Okay,
to the
okay,
ones that'll be
okay.
closer to there.
yeah.
Christopher Bell,
Yes.
contender. Danny.
Oh, contender.
too much hot boxing over there.
I thought you said you was gonna do all the easy ones. So
The
Yeah,
ones
I'm
we
just
can
get-
agree on.
Yeah, just formalities here. Harrison Burton,
pretender, bad.
Mm-mm.
pretender.
Yeah, pretender.
William Byron.
He's a contender.
Contender.
Okay, Tyler Reddick.
Yes, contender.
Contender.
All right, now let's go through the ones that I think are in that middle range here. Start with more one side, and we'll go to the others. Chase Briscoe. I'll say pretender.
Pretender, but I think he can get through the first round. I'm not picking him to get through the first round, but I think he
It wouldn't
could.
shock us.
Yeah.
Martin Truex Jr.
I think he's a pretender.
I think he's a pretender personally.
Pretender.
Oh man, we all agree. Yeah, I just think
Alright.
he's out. I think he's mentally out to lunch. His car's obviously good enough, but the finishes lately have been, ugh, and I just think he's not focused.
I did say he's focused enough for some cool news for the Daytona 500 next year.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, but that's pretty
well,
good.
that-
Okay, I forgot this one. Suarez.
Pretender.
Pretender.
Yeah,
Also, these
pretender.
damn flies keep landing. on
I
my
do
nose.
think he'll get through the first round, though. I think Daniel gets to the round of 12.
All right, let's see. Alex Bowman. He's
Percent-
interesting to me.
Pretender, but I think he'll get past the first round.
That's how I kind of feel. So, like, I feel like if you're getting through the first
he's
round,
never not made it to the round of 12 when he's been in the playoffs.
and 2022, man, he looked like he was bound for the round of 8 before that injury. I don't know. I'm pretender. I don't think he's winning the title, but round of 12 is certainly plausible.
I'll say pretender for now. Ty Gibbs.
Pretender.
I have him as like a total wild card. What do you think, Jarrett? What do you think?
I'm going to say because of borderline, I still think he's a year away, but I'm actually going to go contender. I was pretender earlier in the day. But the more I thought about it, is like this team, the problem this team has isn't the driver. When the team is fine, the driver's up front. You know, if they get the engine stuff figured out, I don't see why Ty Gibbs can't win it. I don't see why he can't win at Bristol. I don't see why he can't run up front at the Roval. I don't see why he can't run well in the round of 8 tracks.
So his last finish at the Roval, so in his last Xfinity race at the Roval, I think he finished second. And then last year in the Cup race, I think he was third or fourth. So he's very good at the Roval, Talladega, and we have Atlanta in the first round. Anything can happen.
Talladega, his rookie year, I believe, he was up front until like he ran out of gas. Like he was
you may be
actually
right.
up there. It was a race I think Kyle Busch won.
And I like Kansas in that second round, has been really good for Toyota. And in this first round, we have Watkins Glen. He's a good road racer. And then we have not Martinsville. I'm sorry. What's the Bristol, where in the spring race, all of Gibbs led like every lap. So
I'll just say it now. I don't know that he wins it, but I think Ty Gibbs is in the top 3 at the Bristol night race this year.
I have a feeling he could be that in that spot too. So I would say he's a pretender.
But
I don't think he's getting to the round of 8, but I had him as like a true wild card in that wild card round.
I feel like the round of 12 can trump him up because you never know what can happen at Talladega, and you also never know how your day can go at the Roval.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good one though. He's the most interesting, I think, of these like bubble guys, if you will.
I still say pretender until he finally wins the race. At least he's got to do that first before I believe.
I mean, we've seen in the lower series winless to the last moment champions. It can happen like that. I think that I'm probably more bullish on Ty Gibbs than most though. Joey Logano. I go pretender personally.
I think he's a contender. You can't doubt Penske in the playoffs.
Yeah, I go contender on him.
Like he has not been consistently good by any means, but he has a knack for clutching it up in the playoffs. I think he had back-to-back wins in the fall Talladega race in the mid 2010s. Um, he's had one it's been a while, I believe, but he's won at Kansas a few times. He won that horrible aero race in 2020. I think it was his last Kansas win. I'm just looking at the round of 12 because I think he gets to the round of 16. That round of 12, I think he has a shot at running top 5 Kansas. Talladega, man, I think he was the best car at Daytona a few weeks ago. And if he doesn't get caught up in that McDowell crash, he's probably in Harrison Burton's position and gets pushed to the win. So I don't know. I think Logano, his round of 12 history, his even number year history, I think he's a contender.
His historical trends, though, in sports, they always get broken, whether it one way or another. I mean, you look at the tail end of, like, say, on the football side, Brady with the Patriots. Well, of course they're going to make it far. Of course they're going to be Super Bowl contenders. It's Tom Brady. Of course he'll get in his last year, he'll get the Buccaneers back up there and they'll be in contention. Until he's not.
Tennessee's going to lose all of our rivals this year, right?
That might happen.
No.
I just wanted to poke the bear on that one. I think he's a pretender.
Out there. I'm all for things not being changed.
I think he's a pretender. I don't see it. This team is off this year, and we're saying all these reasons why he could be better or he ran better. Let's also remember he ran like 25th all day in the race he won. He probably shouldn't have won that race.
Well, so when I look at Logano, and I had the numbers pulled up somewhere over here, he's shined brightest at short ovals. Let's see. He was second at Richmond in the spring. Obviously, he was in position to win Richmond in the fall until he got wrecked by Austin Dillon. He has a 6th at Martinsville, 5th at Gateway. He won at the North Wilkesboro All-Star race. So, he's been very good at the short ovals. The problem is there's Bristol, and then you got to wait all the way until, I guess, Martinsville, and then Phoenix, of course. But I don't know that he gets to Phoenix. Like, there's just not enough of his track type in these playoffs. Next year there will be with Loudon and Gateway, but this year there's not. So I worry that could cost him early. But I still think Logano gets to the round of 8. I'm going to trust Team Penske. They find something every year. I look back at Blaney's stats last year. He had no momentum going into the playoffs and then was rock solid for especially the final 6 or 7 races.
So we'll go with that one. Ryan Blaney. I think Blaney is more of a contender. I think he's better than he was last year.
A little more than Logano because he is entering the playoffs in a better position than he was last year.
I say he's a contender. I don't have him in my championship 4, but I have him as a contender.
So last two we have here, to me, are the most interesting because they're the most overlooked guys in NASCAR right now, at least in the Cup Series. So let's start out with Mr. Popular here, Chase Elliott. I still think he's a contender just because he's done it before. 2, I think that he is much more improved than he was last year. He's not to 2022 level, but I think people are gauging how good he was in 21, 22, 20, around there compared to now, and not saying he's still one of the best guys out there. I think Chase is a contender.
Yeah. I think so too.
Yeah, I have him as a contender as well.
I was going to ask the chat, but I think the chat's pretty unanimous, and so are we. I'll ask the chat on this next one. But yeah, I think Chase Elliott, I think he'll get through the round of 16. Round of 12, he's done very well at the Roval. I know it's been a few years, but he's won races at the Roval.
Solid at Kansas, very solid.
He won the Talladega Fall Race 2 years ago, and his one win this season was on a 1.5 miles. Not very similar to Kansas, but it is a 1.5 miles. So I think Elliott gets to the round of 8. I won't go round of 4, but I think he gets to the round of 8.
And then the last one, Brad Keselowski.
I'm going to ask the chat because I really want to know what they think.
I actually have him as a contender.
That's where I'm at. I
Really?
think Brad is the most overlooked driver in the NASCAR Cup Series.
The schedule favors him, in my opinion.
Yeah, the schedule favors him. His manufacturer at this point with the momentum favors him. I think his experience favors him. And I think this team is way better than just one win that a lot of people say might have been a little lucky or whatnot at Darlington. I think this team is good enough to make it to the round of 8, and that schedule in the round of 8, I think, favors him really well.
And I feel
you think he's going to Phoenix?
I think he could. I think he could. I didn't say he will, but I think he will be a contender to go to Phoenix.
We saw this to a point with Buescher last year when they only had one car that was in the playoffs. That became their priority car. This year, Brad is their only one in the playoffs. He becomes priority. He's also the owner, and consistently this year, probably the better driver of the two. He, I think they put all 100% into the six of their focus, and the schedule favors them. I will say I think he wins a race in the playoffs. I'm not going to say where at, but I think he wins a race in the playoffs this year.
So 75% of the chat is saying he's a contender. Let's see if I can bring that back a little bit, because I would say Keselowski's a pretender. I think to be fair, he is my first guy. I'd have him like ninth or 10th. I have him out in the round of 12. He was bounced in the round of 12 last year. I don't think that team is better than they were last year. I think they're roughly the same. And you look at those 3 tracks in the round of 12. The Roval is going to be a disaster for Brad Keselowski. Let's see. I looked this up. He has 1 top 10 in 6 Roval starts. I don't have the number in front of me. I think he has 1 top 10 at a road course in the last like 2+ years. So he's not going to run well at Charlotte. So we can cross that one off. Can we really trust him at Talladega? I know he's one of the best drafters in the business, but he hasn't won a super speedway race in this next gen era. Neither is Denny Hamlin. Logano, I think his only win was at Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. Did he get a Talladega win? I might be forgetting. Like the best drafters from the Gen 6 era haven't necessarily had success in this new car. So I don't think we can pencil Keselowski in at Talladega.
Counterpoint, though, he was the guy in prime position to win behind McDowell at the end of Talladega.
Sure.
That momentum doesn't get burnt up by McDowell basically triple swerving it, and he wins. He's winning that race over.
That's fair. Hey, nobody speaks higher of RFK at super speedways than this guy over here. Yeah, like I get what they're capable of bringing, but my point is I don't trust anyone at Talladega. Parker Retzlaff just pushed Harrison Burton to a win at Daytona. I don't trust anyone at super speedways. So we're looking at Kansas, and Chris Buescher obviously nearly won at Kansas. Keselowski wasn't really in the picture that race. He was fine, but wasn't in the picture. So that's where it's like, I think he needs a big day at Kansas to overcome the playoff point deficit he'll likely be at compared to many others. And if he doesn't get that big day at Kansas, that's a ton of pressure to put on Talladega. Because again, the Roval, I think, is going to be a wash. I think at best he'll run 15th, not collect many points. So that's what it comes down to with Brad Keselowski. That's why I think he gets bounced in the round of 12.
I think what you have to look at, though, too, is that with that first round, which I think is pretty good for him overall.
He could win one of those and then boost his play. That's true. That's fair, but that's a lot. That needs to happen.
But you also have to look at the fact, too, with Atlanta and Watkins Glen right off the bat, and then the only non-wild card is the Bristol night race. I really think you could see some real contenders get bounced early because of that, because of getting collected in a big one.
It's possible. Sure.
These road course, especially with this tire that Goodyear has, we don't know if it's going to be one of those crazy strategy races where people get shuffled back. God damn, these flies are everywhere. Or if I'm sorry, it's annoying the hell out of me because they keep landing on my face and I'm just about ready to tear their wings off and let them walk away. Anyway, I'm feeling violent about these flies, man. But we also don't know if it could be just complete cluster and these tires are just blowing up left and right, and it goes back to what happened at Bristol in the spring, which Brad Keselowski was up front for, where the veteran drivers who can conserve their stuff better are the most well-served ones, which is where Brad Keselowski at Watkins Glen in the past was where he thrived in the Gen 5 and 6.
They're going to have that soft tire at Watkins Glen. That's a fair point. If he has a big opening round and adds a couple playoff points, maybe I'll revisit this. But as things currently stand, I think he's the 8 seed. I think the round of 12 is where it comes to an end. I just think Talladega is going to be the date they circle. And if you're circling Talladega, I'm just nervous. Like, that doesn't give me confidence.
So I guess if you want to lead into, like, we can just get our picks now for these rounds.
Sure, we can go through it. I do want to point out that I was able to bring the poll back about 4%. Now only 71% say he's a contender. So I swayed 4% of y'all. I'll take it.
Danny, do the math. 4% of 225.
something like that.
How many did Eric's words sway? If it's double digits, Eric should run for office someday.
4% of 225, you said?
Yes.
9 people, that's it?
Eric, you will lose a battle for the presidency one day when you run for office.
I can field a baseball team. We're good.
But I'll pop off the if I can get it.
Do you have a
up
graphic
here.
for the playoff grid?
Yeah, I was realizing like 16 drivers. I cannot wait till 4 of them get eliminated with the extra.
It's a lot. It's a mouthful right now.
Here's what we got. It's on screen right now for the playoff
Beautiful.
grid. And I put just where they are compared to the cut line because that's what matters.
For our listening audience, obviously Larson is the 1 seed plus 35. Bell is plus 27. Then Reddick, Byron, Blaney. Hamlin is plus 10. Elliott plus 9. Keselowski plus 3. Logano plus 2. Cindric is plus 2. So is Suarez plus 1. Bowman and Briscoe, 12th, 13th, tied. Burton is also, actually, that makes my bad. Burton is also tied. And then 15th is Truex. 16th is Gibbs. They're both 1 point out. So very tight around that bubble right now.
Oh, you want to just get on into it?
Do we want to do every single round, or is that going to get overwhelming?
I think we can do it quick, just who gets eliminated each round.
Sure, it might be hard to keep track of. Once we get to the championship,
I put little X's on mine so I can tell you who I have eliminated each round.
All right, that's fine. So
let's get to it.
Jarrett, you go first. Which 4 get out in the round of 16?
Again, I think that the added Watkins, Glenn, Atlanta in there is gonna, I think, one, weed out. Watkins, Glenn's gonna weed out, I think, the guys who aren't as good. Atlanta, I think, is gonna weed out those who are falling or aren't that good in general, even if they're good there. So I'm gonna go, even though I think that these first 2 are, actually, I think the first 3 will run well at Atlanta. I'm gonna go Cindric, Suarez, Burton as my chalk picks, and then Truex. I think that 19 team. I think that 19 team right now is arguably the second or third worst team in the playoffs.
Damn.
Because
Danny, what about you?
He's checked out.
Oh, yeah.
My first 4 I have out is Cindric, Suarez, Briscoe, and Burton.
So I think you guys both agree on Cindric, Suarez, Burton, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you, Jared, on Truex. I also have Cindric and Burton. I have Chase Briscoe out in the first round.
Really?
He's not the road racer he once was.
So me and you agreed on that one.
Atlanta, I mean, he's in a Ford, but like I don't expect anything special at Atlanta. And then Bristol, I expect the veterans to pop off there, and he's not quite that. So
they're the reason Briscoe was on the outside, anyways. That's how I say it.
Yeah. So we all have Bowman making it through. We all have who else would be on that list? Ty Gibbs making it through. Okay. So round of 12. Jarrett, who are your 4 out in the round of 12?
I think 2 simple ones right away. I think I'm gonna go Briscoe, Bowman. You know, Bowman's good at the Roval. I don't trust Talladega to go well, and with how far, you know, generally back and how close that group is. Briscoe, I think it's just a nice story.
Sure.
I'm gonna go Joey Logano.
Oh.
I don't have faith in that 22 team.
Fair enough. Okay.
And I think the penalty comes back to bite him, Denny Hamlin.
Oh my God, Denny in the round. I mean, there's going to be a surprise in one of these first 2 rounds. There will be a surprise. Maybe it's Truex, maybe it's Denny.
Every year, the middle round takes somebody out that no one really thought there would be. It just
true.
Feels
that's fair.
And it just,
I think the one that I have might be more realistic. I feel.
Okay, wait,
I think
Danny, give yours.
Realistic, man. I think he is.
I think they're all realistic. That round of 12 is ridiculous with the Roval and Talladega. But Danny, I want to hear yours.
My 4 out in the round of 12 are Truex, Gibbs, and Bowman. And then, shockingly out in this round, I have William Byron.
Ooh. Fascinating. Okay. I don't have any big surprises. My 4 out are Ty Gibbs, Daniel Suarez. I had him getting to the round of 12. Bowman, I think he's out in the round of 12. And Keselowski. We already had that whole debate about Brad Keselowski.
And I will actually say I actually have Keselowski winning a race in that one and automatically getting into the next round.
Talladega, maybe Kansas. Sure. Give him a fighting chance. Interesting, though. Okay, well, now I guess we now have to have our round of 8 eliminations because this is where things get really crazy.
Yeah. So in this one, I think it's a nice story, but I don't think Ty Gibbs gets further. I think it lines up better.
Round of 8 would be really impressive. If he gets to round of 8, that's big.
Wasn't it a couple years ago? I think it was I think Briscoe made it to the round of 8 and no one expected it. And I think Ty Gibbs and that team are better than Briscoe was that year.
And Gibbs is technically, I think, the 16 seed. I don't think a 16 seed has ever made it to the round of 8, at least since playoff points became a thing. I might be wrong about that, but I think Bubba last year was really close to making it, and that would have been historic.
And by the way, for this one here, let's say our 4 we have out, and after we've gone for that, then we'll say who actually have their championship 4.
Yeah.
Well, let's save that for the very end. We'll save that for after we all turn the eliminations.
That's what I'm saying. After we do our eliminations.
So I think that Elliott and Keselowski. I think those will be the next two that are out.
Sure.
I can't see that. I see them being underrated enough to get that far, not underrated enough that they'll make the Final Four. And I don't think we'll get two in a row. I think Ryan Blaney is the last man out. I think he'll be the one most in contention, battling up there. But I don't think he'll be making it this year.
Danny, who are your 4 out?
Me and Jared are pretty well the same. I had Elliott and Keselowski going out in the round of 8, and I also had Blaney and Logano going out in the round of 8. So I had Penske being eliminated in the round of 8, along with Elliott and Keselowski.
So I just realized, I think 2 of us had the exact same championship 4, and one of us had 3 of the 4. So my 4 out in the round of 8: Elliott, Logano, Byron, and Hamlin. I do have Denny out in the round of 8. Something always goes wrong, it seems. I do think something will happen. Last year it was a steering braking at Homestead. I don't know what it'll be this year. Maybe the engine penalty already was the bad break. I don't know. But I have Denny out in the round of 8. So championship 4s.
So
Jarrett.
My championship 4, and I base this a lot on the intermediates and who's hot at the end. And it's very much a chalk Final Four on this one. Larson, Bell, Reddick, and Byron. I think people are way overlooking William Byron than 2014. That team the last 2 years has averaged a single digit. And there's the fly, by the way, if you saw.
Oh my God, that was huge.
Yeah, it's they're everywhere, man. Whoa. If you see, I'm like swatting them away.
That was scary.
William Byron has I think he had an average finish of 9th in 2022's playoffs, and he's 6th place average last year. Last year, people forget his regular season got incredibly inconsistent and choppy after the first 10, 15 weeks, give or take, just like this year.
Yeah. It's like you're reading my notes, Jarrett. This is great. Although I had Byron out in the round of 8, but yeah, no, like this is a very valid take.
And I had Byron out in the round of 12.
Hey, man, I made my mistake last year on underestimating William Byron. I'm not making that mistake again.
All right. So you have, remind me, it's Larson, Bell, Reddick, Byron.
So no Fords.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. So I think we are going to have all slightly different ones, actually.
Yeah, we're all different.
Okay.
So my championship 4 is Larson, Reddick, Bell, and Hamlin.
Ooh. Is this Denny's year? Is he all in?
He's going to have a shot to win championship as a driver and an owner.
Hey, that's 50-50. I think he would take those odds. My final 4, we all agree on Larson, Bell, Reddick. They're the 1, 2, and 3 seeds for a reason. I think they will all make it. My final fourth final 4 guy is Blaney. I do think there will be a Penske guy. There will be a Ford in the championship 4. Blaney obviously got hot at the end of last year this time, and as we mentioned earlier, he's actually entering the playoffs this year with more playoff points than he had a year ago. He's run a little better. So I think a Penske guy gets in. Can't doubt them. So that's Blaney. So Larson, Bell, Reddick, Blaney for me. So Jarrett, who's your champion?
I think my biggest hang up on Blaney was that I think Bell, I would pick him to win Martinsville personally. So I think that's why I didn't have him.
I missed it. My champion, I'm going with my preseason pick. I don't expect anyone to remember my preseason pick.
I forgot.
I believe I've stuck with him since, because I think last year my preseason pick was Larson, and I stuck with him. This year, I'm going Christopher Bell. I think if you're looking at Larson, Bell, Reddick, and Byron, Bell on a flat oval to me is the most surefire pick. He'd be the favorite going in. So I'm going to go again. I'm very chalk with this, which is weird because of how this playoff is set up schedule wise. But I'm going to go Bell slightly over Larson. I think Larson would come runner up to him.
In a year where he came in as the biggest star of the sport thanks to Netflix, this man has himself as a driver in a championship 4. He also has a car he owns in the championship 4. Denny Hamlin will not win a championship because Kyle Larson will.
Ooh, Larson.
Will Denny finish second?
Yeah.
Will Larson exact revenge on him for past discretions and move him out of the way? Take that as a yes.
Yeah. I just put a poll in the chat asking, because we all had Larson, Bell, and Reddick getting in, so I figured I'd ask them, of those 3, who's most likely to win the championship. and it's pretty split right now. My championship four again: Larson, Bell, Reddick. I have Blaney. I don't think Blaney repeats. I agree with Jarrett. I think it's Christopher Bell. Early in the season, I think even after Phoenix, I took note of Bell's dominant performance, but especially after Gateway, even though he had an engine problem, had technical issues, Christopher Bell at short, flat ovals has been undeniably fast this whole year. I have a few numbers I would like to share. Obviously, he won at Phoenix. He led 149 laps at New Hampshire, won that race. It's also a flat 1 mile, somewhat similar to Phoenix. He led over 100 laps combined between the two Richmond races, another short track. He led 80 laps at Gateway, like I mentioned, but had the engine issue.
Sorry, I finally got it.
The concern for Bell is, what if the car breaks? Because last year it was the brakes that exploded early in that race. I don't think they make the same mistake. And then the other question is Toyota engines. They've been on a little bit of a rough streak lately. Let's hope they get things sorted out by the time the temperature gets cooler. I think Christopher Bell wins it. Jared agrees. I like your pick, Danny. Chat of Larson, Bell, and Reddick, the 1, 2, and 3 seeds. Who is most likely to win the championship? 41% say Kyle Larson, 31% say Tyler Reddick. Now it's 30% say Christopher Bell. That math doesn't quite add up. Now it's 30 and 30 for Bell and Reddick. So it's a close second. They're battling for second, but it's Kyle Larson who our chat believes is most likely to win the title, at least at the top seeds.
I did my bracket on just like a piece of paper, and then I had a little Kyle Larson with a crown here, if you can see it.
I did it
for a second.
I did it too.
Smiley face.
And then I put a star next to your guys' picks. So I'm gonna keep these notes ready for November when we're all inevitably wrong.
Yeah, and inevitably is correct. But awesome. We are at the top of the hour, but we have a couple more things we're going to get through real quick before we get to our first Super Chat stage break. We don't have any TV ratings numbers yet that we could find, so we'll circle back to that. It's time for the poll.
Caring.
The famous iceberg poll. What did our fans think of the Southern 500?
What do they think, Eric?
Oh, that's right. I read the results because I have that data in front of me. I'm used to Jarrett having the chat.
We all made that mistake at some point.
15,000 people voted on the famous iceberg poll. 61% of y'all called it a great race. 30% said it was good. 6% said it was average. 1% below average, only 2% bad. So that is a 91% net positivity. Only 3% voted negatively. That's pretty great.
13,650 people were in favor of this race.
I mean, the final stage was cinematic. I will say the final stage especially was great. Jarrett, sorry. Now I'll turn it over to you. What do the comments say?
450 people hated it.
Oh, man. We could fill a stadium, fill an auditorium, high school auditorium.
I could have a little discussion group on why they hated this race.
Symposium.
So the first comment came from Spencer here. So positive, negative, meme, or a mix?
I think it's all of the above.
Wait, say the name one more time, sorry.
Spencer Purcell.
Meme.
Corporate needs you to tell me the difference between this picture. It's Tony Stewart, Watkins Glen 04, and Tyler Reddick, Darlington 2024. They're the same picture. So it actually came out he did not crap himself or throw up.
He also didn't win, so come on, Reddick, like get good.
Yeah, he needed to have a little less weight, you know, the way like Tony Stewart did.
You got to crap in the right corner of the car, add left side weight.
However, for a little bit, I was loving that meme idea of like, Martin, we have a chance for you to finish this race, but
no. I'm gonna go fishing.
There. Yep.
So let's look at some of the comments. I pulled 7 comments from various places in the in there, and then the 3 gutter comments. So Ross Crash Stain says most drivers have Darlington stripes. Tyler Reddick has Darlington streaks.
Jeez,
they were brutal in there. The fact
That's clever.
that it was hard to find a good amount of comments because most were about Tyler Reddick.
of course.
X-X says Diffie's call on the final run was electric. Tank Slapper said we really got Chris Buescher missing the playoffs by 1/1000th of a second before GTA 6. Yeah. Rusty Owl says that made up for the other 3 crown jewels being letdowns.
That's true. Someone pointed that out in my comment section that like, you know, the Coke 600 was kind of a letdown. Well, it was with the rain out. Daytona ended under caution. So we finally got one that was, you know, thrilling,
worth it,
natural.
Yeah.
Didn't go to 5 overtimes. Yeah.
Trass here says, when people said MTJ only needed to run one lap to make it into the playoffs, he took it literally. Double Nickel says, being a Kyle Busch fan is looking up, but still hurts so bad right now.
Yeah, there's reason to be excited about next year, I think. They continue to make some competition changes. They're showing you they're still capable of something.
That damn fly he just parked himself right there. There he goes. Blaney Best says, if I had a nickel for every time Ryan Blaney was wrecked by MTJ and William Byron at Darlington, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird it's happened twice. That happened in the spring too. Because it was that restart where they kind of got together. And it was a little more on Truex, I would say, but it is what it is. So the gutter comments here, and I did vet them. Cliff Saxon says, Carson Hocevar doesn't belong in NASCAR. Tell us how you really feel, buddy.
He qualified second. I know he didn't race very well, but that's noteworthy.
Maddie is okay. Says Kyle didn't win, so it was crap.
Which Kyle?
Yeah, that's what I was about
Kyle
to say.
Sieg?
Yeah, like all the Larson and Busch haters combined hating on that comment. And then Dr. Sam W. Pepper says, Bubba gets screwed by someone else's mistake, and on top of all of that, a new winner can't make this crap up. Man, Buscher, Wallace, Chastain all out because of this disgraceful win and in format. If you defend this format, quit watching racing.
Man, that was a brutal takedown at the end there.
So I feel like Craig Ferguson after I have these notes where I read it off and just next stuff up. Thanks for the voting on the poll. We do it after every race. We probably can just skim through the Xfinity race quick because there's really only one thing. Yeah,
I mean, you got to feel bad for Sheldon Creed, man. Caution comes out. He raced down, he chased down Christopher Bell, took the lead, and then caution comes out and he loses on pit road. So
I'm not sure if my uncle is cool with me saying this story, but I'm gonna anyway, because it's a good story and it has nothing that bad. So he sponsored a car last year at Chicago Street Race, and he said that being there and meeting Creed is why he's a Creed fan. He's like, I really like Creed, and I'm like, well, how'd you meet Sheldon Creed? Like right before the race, it's really hard to meet these drivers unless like you're media or you're walking down the pits. He goes, yeah, well, like all the drivers went to their cars after the national anthem and everything, and I was in line for the porta potty. I look behind me and there's Sheldon Creed, and I'm like, and talking to my uncle, you can go. You have something you have to do. Like, why aren't you in the car? And I guess they like had a cool conversation or whatever. So that story led nowhere. It's just funny. A fun story. But I like called because my grandpa likes Sheldon Creed. My uncle likes him. I want him to win at some point. It's like I'm sitting in their garage watching the end of this race, and I'm like, oh my God. Like he ran him down. He's got the win in the bag. I'm like, calling him like, come on, if there's not a caution, he's gonna win. Come on. And as soon as like everyone gets in there and is like, come on. Caution comes out. Valid caution. It was a valid caution, but damn, what the hell does this man have to do to get a damn win in the Xfinity Series?
It's brutal. This has to be one of the most brutal. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. I know there have been like photo finishes at Daytona, and that stings because you're so close, but it's also Daytona. This was a race where it's a driver's track. You ran down your teammate in roughly equal equipment, a Cup Series star, to take the lead, and then bad pit stop, bad timing on the caution. And even then, Christopher Bell, oh shoot, who did he nearly block into the shadow realm? I forget who that was. Was
it Custer?
Was it Custer? I think so. I don't know if Custer got into his left rear or if Bell legitimately came down that far, but like even then, I don't know how they didn't wreck. They should have wrecked and handed Creed the lead right back, but it didn't happen. Like he got double screwed. I felt like the universe was really out to get him.
I got another one, by the way.
Yeah, Custer. Thank you, chat.
Sorry,
so,
I
do feel bad for Creed. I've earned this reputation online, I feel, of being the Sheldon Creed hater. And my only criticism is that he's going to his third team in 3 years, third manufacturer in 3 years. He's going to Haas next season. And we know he comes with a lot of funding. That's why he keeps getting these rides. And he hasn't won a race. He's 26 years old, I think. My only criticism of him is that I don't think he's a top 5, hot young prospect. Everyone's talking about these Connor Ziliches, these Corey Himes, Jesse Love, you name it, so on and so on. And that's my only criticism is he's clearly a talented driver. He won a truck title, but some of these wins that have slipped away have maybe been on him and the team. Others haven't. his inability or the unluckiness, he hasn't been able to seal the deal, and I think that's hurt his stock. I think he's older now, and the expectations are high. Like, I don't care about all the bad luck. At some point, he does need to get a win, and the fact that he hasn't, I think, is why we're looking at some of these younger guys as the next big thing now. And that could have been Sheldon Creed just a couple of years ago, and it's not anymore. That's my only criticism of Creed. But like you, Jared, I hope he does get a win sometime. He has to. Like, at this point, just the law of averages says he must win a race eventually, right? Right.
You would think. Maybe he pulls off Daniel Hemrick, right? And he just, wouldn't it be amazing if he beats Austin Cindric or not Austin Hill, another Austin in this. I was thinking too much of the Hemrick one. He beats Austin Hill for the championship at Phoenix, and that's like his only career win. But oh, by the way, one fly to go presented by Credit One Bank.
Oh, get him.
And I see him. He's just sitting there washing his wings just out of reach. And think I can't.
Well, Jarrett is on the hunt. We are a little past the top of the hour. I appreciate all of your patience. Let's go to our first super chat stage break. I'm going to roll into it. You guys tell me when I should stop. Isaac V24, thank you for the 5. KL5 lost the regular season trophy all because Jarrett pissed off a heathen sea goddess by not finishing the romance novel before Charlotte. Somehow it's all your fault, Jarrett.
Yeah, it's normal.
Irvin Alvarado, thank you for the 5. Let me look at Twitter. Oh, it's a debate on NASCAR's point system. Plops chair and grabs Fritos. All right, we got all day from both sides. Yeah. To your point earlier, Jared, I do feel not just fans, but even like commentators, others in the industry are really like debating the playoff format after back-to-back sort of upset winners.
I just find it funny, like Daniel Trotta and Larry Mack and Dave Moody and others, and they're like, it's been 10 years and now people are having problems. Like, where the hell have you been?
No, you're exactly right. Ryan Sicard says, my birthday is yesterday. I turned 22. I'm excited to go to Atlanta this weekend. Happy birthday, Ryan.
Happy birthday.
And have a blast at Atlanta. I think Dale Jr., right, called it the hottest ticket in NASCAR. I don't think he's wrong. So
my ticket sales lately.
I mean, well, okay, not literally speaking per se, but Atlanta has put on a hell of a show the past couple of years. So have fun out there, Ryan. Chips Never, as both a Busher and Bubba fan, last Sunday was both one of the best and worst races of my life. Oh, little happy crying emoji. Not really happy, smiling face with tear emoji. Why was it best? Wait, if you're a Busher and Bubba fan, shouldn't it have just been the worst race? I mean, they both ran well.
The quality of racing was good.
Yeah, I guess maybe they just love racing. They just appreciate the art. I respect it. Grid flow. Race was too long. I agree with Eric. Shorter races. I've never said to shorten the crown jewels, just to be clear. I think there are and they have shortened other 500-mile races that don't need to be 500 miles. But Southern 500, Daytona 500, those should stay the same. It's okay if they're marathons. But the rest of the time, yeah, races should be a little shorter. I do stand by. Jupiter Rain says Herbst will truly be the next Jimmy if he gets the 48. Oh, no. What are we doing? We haven't talked about the Alex Bowman rumors and then him quieting the rumors, but I don't think Riley Herbst is going to the 48. Larso says, should the Southern 500 be shortened? Oh, no, not another one of these. No, it should not be shortened. I think we can all agree on that. It's of all, NASCAR is very much rooted in tradition, but perhaps no race is rooted in more tradition than the Labor Day weekend Southern 500. So
we should race it on a Monday again like they used to.
I'm kidding. So I'm kidding. I would not touch that. GN NASCAR fan, whoever is advocating for shortening the crown jewel races needs the straight jacket award from Jimmy Spencer right now. All right, we have one other person on our side in the super chats. BGWX Chasing. We do not need to shorten races due to your TikTok attention spans. That is all. Also painful to be a Kyle Busch fan this year. Heck of a run.
That's
TikTok
3 minutes.
attention span I thought was good.
Yeah,
that's 3 minutes. Yeah.
I will do a few more here since I made them wait. Elite Dragon says F1 is growing with short races. No need for 500 miles. Wow. So I didn't even notice this going on. I apologize. We had quite the debate going on in the chat between shortening and lengthening races.
Oh my God. No, oh my God. Okay.
You don't touch things like the Southern 500.
Take the crown jewels out.
If you want to talk about lowering a Kansas race at 300, sure, we can talk about that. But you don't.
No, we can certainly not.
Hey, we can talk about that.
That's my race, damn it.
Oh my
Okay.
god.
I already lost my track. I don't need to lose 100 more miles.
Okay,
No,
fine.
but here's
if you're
where
gonna
I'm
talk
at.
about Michigan. I don't know, whatever.
Here's where I'm at, man. It's like we're now we have fans asking. I don't know if they're seriously asking, but some of them I know are, who are seriously wanting like the Southern 500K. The hell's a kilometer? We're in the middle. I mean, this damn race until like 20 years ago had a Confederate flag in the promos. They
don't know what a kilometer is.
we're wanting, these shortened TikTok, brain rot freaking races and all this other crap. I'm sorry, like you're getting me to make my damn boomer takes.
Oh my god!
And I feel like I'm freaking
Jarrett.
justified. I'm like it's bad enough I got to deal with the damn playoffs. Now I got to deal with idiots who don't understand the damn playoffs, who don't understand how long 500 miles is. Like, for the love of freaking Christ, people! Oh my god! Get a damn IQ test.
Oh jeez, Jared.
Here's what we'll do. Welcome to Daytona. Today's a Skibbity Toilet 20.
Dude, oh my! I feel like being one of those people like the welcome to Walmart, get your shit and get out. It's like welcome to NASCAR, watch for 20 minutes and get out. Like that's how I feel at this point. Like, oh my, we already have the stages that cut up the races into nice little pieces, like for you,
bite-sized pieces.
Like what more do you freaking want? Oh my god! I'm sorry. This is sacrilege we're talking about.
So Daytona 500, Brickyard 400, Southern 500, Coke 600. Do not touch the mileage. Bristol Night Race. Do not touch the mileage.
400 is the shortest you should go on the ovals. I'm sorry, and if it's not like a New Hampshire, if it's not like a road course or a Phoenix,
does 300K or whatever, or 400K or whatever it is, 500K. I think I don't know.
This idea that sports fans can't sit down for 3 hours. The fact that no one can sit down for 3 hours and watch something, I'm sorry, it's stupid. It's absolutely stupid to me. People can watch the damn
James
Super
Cameron
Bowl.
Be like,
the Super Bowl is a 4-hour event with all the other crap they have added in. It's the most watched freaking event in the world. Like, what are we talking about?
As you elevate yourself as a driver, you go up in miles. Your truck's max is 200 miles. Xfinity max is 300 miles. And then Cup, you're talking 400, 500, 600 mile races because you're an elite level talent at that point.
If you want to have short races, go play drafty car. Oh my god! I'm sorry, man. Fair. I'm sorry. This is just the amount of brain dead takes I've seen this week is ridiculous. And again, it might be ironic hearing me say that, but like, for the love of God, people.
Well, I will say the only reason races have dragged this year is 5 overtimes at Nashville or 3 overtimes here, 2 overtimes. So let's just tell the drivers to stop wrecking their stuff with 2 laps to go, and we're good. We're fine. The races have been a respectable length.
People who get mad at me for not wanting shorter races are calling me a boomer. My boomer take is we should get rid of overtime to shorten the damn races for you. There you go.
They want a short 4% dash race. Tune into the end. We're probably gonna have overtime.
Watch the truck series. Watch ARCA. Like, go to a local short track. Well, no, I can't say that because they have 5 hours of racing because people can pay attention there.
World of Outlaws will start at midnight.
Oh my god!
The feature will start at midnight.
I went from like kind of ironically laughing about this to the point like I'm legitimately starting to lose my damn mind over this because I'm realizing this is only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse with time.
Just watch stop motions. There you go.
Yeah, I have a whole playlist on my channel to get your quick fix, your social media fix.
Sorry, wow, I'm sorry. I'm just
that set you off.
It's striking a nerve because I was fine going from like I'm fine without a 500-mile Texas to 400, but when we start talking about shortening one of the best races of the year that 10 years ago finally got put back in the date it belongs, and now we're talking about like we got fans wanting it changed again. Like, I'm sorry. Like, assimilate to NASCAR here a little bit. Like, we do not need to change all this shit for you. Oh my! And the other problem is there's so many people I talk to who are like, oh my god, if they just made it like an hour and a half, I would watch NASCAR. It's like, then watch the last hour and a half. It's like
the stages, Jared. There are crucial stage points in stage 1.
I got Twitter. Look, our buddy Peter in the chat just put the stage results up. I didn't have to watch.
Just turn on Peter's notifications. Yeah. Well,
Peter's awesome, by the way.
I'm going to let Jarrett catch his breath. I did just want to get through 3 more super chats because I wanted to end with one that I thought was going to set Danny off. I was not expecting Jarrett to explode, but okay, a couple more real quick. Rowdy8 Diecast said sad KFB noises, did the like face melting emoji. Yeah, I really feel for the Kyle Busch fans. At least he gave you something to cheer for the last few weeks. Fred Dog 81 says, with several different drivers between this and last year's playoffs, who is your biggest disappointment to not make it both times? I like Eric Jones, but he's been a big letdown, not close either time. This year, especially. Last year, I don't think you can feel too bad, or you shouldn't have expected much from Jones last year with Chevy cutting him off. But this year, yeah, we've talked about legacy and Toyota not off to the fastest of starts. I guess real quick, do you guys have I mentioned Bubba earlier. I know he was in the driver playoffs, but missing the owner playoffs the last few years is a little bit of a disappointment. Otherwise,
I won't say disappointment, but I'll say after how good his 2023, I believe, was, I'm genuinely surprised how much Stenhouse fell off year over year. Because remember, like, True. He was like 13th, 14th all year.
Yeah, he was in the top 16 in points, I think, until the end of the regular season last year. This year, he's been 25th or worse. Anyway, one final super chat here. This is the one I wanted to get to, was from Matthew Brown on the Alex Bowman rumors. If he wants to stop them, he could. I don't know, drive better, and that is his problem. His 3 teammates make him look average. The fact he responded just tells me he's sweating bullets. Danny, this is a good segue into one of our next topics, but Alex Bowman is going to be in the 48 next year, according to him, but there were rumors recently that he wasn't. What do you have to say to Matthew Brown?
He'll be in the 48.
And Matthew won't. Is that...
I think Alex is getting to a point kind of like me that I'm about tired of the spotter power hour being the ones that think that they can suddenly make things happen.
They're pulling the strings in the podcast world from their podcast perch.
Like they just suddenly think they can just say anything that someone might have said in passing to them one time, and it'd be definitely not true, but they just take it and they run with it.
I tell you what, I'm surprised that Danny's so level-headed about it.
I mean, well, he's a contract is a contract. He's supposed to be in a car, so.
No, well, we'll see. We're going to get to the actual topic here in a few minutes. We'll give Danny a chance to stew.
I wanted to add, I went on my little rant there. If Jeff Gluck ever needs a week off if he ever needs a week off for the teardown so that Jordan Bianchi can actually get some traction out of his every week joke of a rant, I will gladly jump in whenever we have people saying the Southern 500 should be put to 500 kilometers. Yeah, I will gladly step in so Jordan can get some kind of traction out of that joke.
Yeah, there you go. Well, on that note, before we get into the second half of the show, it's time for the lightning round. Storms are a brewing. Jarrett, what do we have tonight for the lightning round?
By the way, I missed one of the flies. There's 2 of them. As Eric gets struck by lightning. Let's look on into it. There's a couple things here. First off, NWP channel that we re-upload everything onto. We'll always give you an update with that too for wherever we're at. Just one more reason to jump on, so be sure to check that one out at NWP Clips. NASCAR says practice and qualifying won't change for 2025 according to Bob Pockrass, so there will be no practice for a lot of races for the most part, at least in the way that we want it. Brandon Jones talked about earlier will be back for, I believe, 2 years at Joe Gibbs Racing after being gone for a little bit, and Christian Eckes will be racing him in the Xfinity Series at Colleague.
That's exciting. Colleague's lineup next year is wild. Josh Williams, who struggled this year, Christian Eckes, who I'm excited about, and our boy, Danny Dye. No AJ Allmendinger, no SVG to sort of carry them on the road courses. It'll be really interesting to see how Colleague does next year.
Cole Pern, he'll be returning.
Pern Star.
This was it, the tungsten butt plug. He'll be the crew chief for the 2025 Daytona 500 for Martin Truex Jr. and Daniel Trotta.
I did hear Truex said that, and then Hamlin did say they're still working on some things, but it sounds very optimistic.
The rumor is the number 56 or 78. For Truex.
I guess both are, or is the 78 available?
It can be.
BJ McLeod is not going to hang on to that. If he wants
to get a little more money out of it.
Yeah. He says, "Show me the money." He knows how this works.
Well,
BJ has stepped out of his own car to go drive the 66 this year. He will let him have it if he wants it.
Well, fun fact: this news came out on the 6-year anniversary of Furniture Row announcing their closure in 2018.
Is that a fun fact or a sad fact?
Sad for the time. At this point now, it's just fun for the story. NASCAR Studios is introducing 3 more shows. They got NASCAR Daily with Shannon Spake. It'll be Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. on YouTube and podcast platforms. You got Drop the Jack, which is at 3 p.m. Thursday, where it's all about the crews with Dylan Smith and the crew members hosting. And then NASCAR Inside the Playoffs at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, just an hour before the NFL game every week. On Thursday night, debuting on True TV and Max, got Spake, Letarte, Bianchi, Dylan Smith again. Spake again.
Interesting because, like, Smith and Spake's not with Fox anymore, is she? Was she
was a free agent?
But like Mamba Smith still does the Harvick show. Bianchi obviously is the teardown. Letarte is currently with NBC, but there's negotiations going on there. So it's kind of interesting that they're like bringing all these people together. Could tell you
I'm also like, are we like, are y'all kind of just like really, really hammering in and reusing the same talent? You can't get some more talent for these shows?
Well, Mamba Smith is going to be busy. He was a season 1 guest on this show, wasn't he? Way back in the day.
So season 2, because he had that was like the debate of the year where he tried telling me that Kyle Busch was better than Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. And
I forgot about that.
I believe it was like the week before or the week after our Alan Bestwick episode. It was a wild like opening to that second year.
Talk about whiplash.
Yeah, and I went back and like watched a few of those. Like, I wonder what stuff we did. I was like, we've
that's
done
a hell
better
of a debate
now.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Try to point out that NASCAR has a lot more talent in building that they aren't even using.
Yeah, probably true.
And then next week, I didn't upload it update it in the itinerary. I did
next Wednesday.
I did update it right here. Yeah, we'll be on my channel next Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So
sweet. That is the Iceberg. You can click his name in the description below to go subscribe and not miss next week's episode.
And that's lightning round. Strike you. I struck Eric down.
Oh, like I'm one of those flies. Well, we teased it at the end of the Super Chat stage break, but one of the big stories of the day, really of the last 24 hours, it started, as we alluded to earlier on the podcast Door Bumper Clear, when Brett Griffin made a comment that if Alex Bowman doesn't do well in the playoffs, or if he gets out of the playoffs early, he could also be out of a ride. Fellow spotter Freddie Kraft seemed to back that up. Sparked rumors that perhaps Bowman may not be in the seat next year. I did some digging and even found that Bob Pockris had written up recently that Bowman, how to forget exactly how he worded it, but he certainly worded it as though Bowman can't afford many slip-ups, is the way he put it, something along those lines. So that made me and many others to believe that Alex Bowman may be racing for his job these next few weeks. Bowman today, during playoff media day, came out and said that he's talked to his bosses and he takes them at their word. He's going to be in the car next year. He even mentioned at one point preparing for some like media day or like partner and sponsor photo shoots coming up that he's got scheduled he'll be a part of. So it sounds almost certainly that Alex Bowman will be in the 48 next year. He has a contract through 2026, but we know that multi-year deals can end early. Happens all the time. You never really know for 100% certainty. But I guess reaction, Danny kind of gave his earlier. We'll come back to him in a moment. Jarrett, what's your reaction to first the rumors and also now the knowledge that Bowman should be back for another year?
I take it with a grain of salt. Not a grain of salt. I take it with a lot of salt when it comes from Door Bumper Queer. I know they like to shake stuff up to stay relevant a little bit with it, but
especially one particular host. Mm-hmm.
Just ask him about Chicago, and he'll stay relevant on NASCAR Twitter. But I'd give this like a 5% of happening. Like, do I think Bowman, if there's anyone at Hendrick that would be not necessarily the hot seat, but on like a warm seat, yeah, it'd probably be him. There's a lot of young talent that comes through the ranks that they could get. There's some pretty good talent through Chevrolet, but I think the big question to ask is two big questions to ask. One, why would they move on from Bowman? He's been pretty solid. He's almost insured as long as he doesn't break his back to get a win every year. And he's been solid and consistent. I mean, I listed earlier that he's with 12 top 10s. He's only behind Reddick, Bell, and Larson on the year. So it's like he's running up front, roughly half the time he's in the top 10. And the other question is, who would you get? I mean, the only person I can think of is you buy out Richard Childress for Kyle Busch, and even then, that's a bit of a prayer. That Kyle Busch isn't cooked. I don't think he's cooked necessarily, but would Kyle Busch? I guess the question is, would Kyle Busch outperform Alex Bowman? I think he would, but would it be by enough that it'd be worth the investment? Because will be a lot of people be like, oh, RCR sucks. That's why. But it's like, if you remember Joe Gibbs Racing towards the end, like he wasn't exactly lighting the world on fire. If it wasn't for that Briscoe move, kind of rounding back to that one, he wouldn't have had a win in his last season there. So
yeah.
I don't think it's all that serious until like the Bob thing at least raised my eyebrows a little bit, but until we get some kind of confirmation of talks of this, I don't believe it.
I could believe that talks happened. I think like everyone assumed after he won Chicago that all these rumors should go away for another year or two, and maybe that was true at the time, but I could believe that around that sometime this summer they were having these conversations because my takeaway looking around, and I said this on my show earlier, I think a lot of fans believe that Ally is super tightly close to Alex Bowman. Like where Bowman goes, Ally goes. And in some ways that's true. They obviously like Alex Bowman, but the point I made earlier is Ally has a deeper relationship with Hendrick, actually. Like they're on Raja Caruth's truck in the truck series, the HendrickCars.com truck. Their TV commercials, it's not Alex Bowman appearing in them. It's actually Dale Earnhardt Jr. doing voiceovers. Obviously, there's the B2B connections, Ally and Hendrick car dealerships. So
Ally was around with Hendrick back when it was JMAC.
Exactly. So that was my point is I don't think it's going to come into play here because Bowman should be back next season. And then, like you said, Jared, I don't think there's a clear-cut, readily available candidate that's better than Bowman. Bowman's made the playoffs, 2019, 2020. I think he made 2021. Yeah.
He had 4 wins that year.
So yeah, 2021 was his 4-win season. 22. The only year he's missed the playoffs was the year he hurt his back and missed 4 races.
And he was leading the points before that.
Yeah, he had a really hot start to the year. So Alex Bowman isn't lighting the world on fire, maybe never will, but he's a regular playoff contender. And we just talked for 20 minutes about guys like Chris Buescher, Ross Chastain, Bubba, missing the playoffs this year. Like making the playoffs is no longer a given. So you have a playoff caliber guy like Alex Bowman, a proven playoff driver, you hold on to him. But my point is going forward into 2025 and especially into 2026 when we know his contract is up, if the results don't improve noticeably, I think this conversation could come up again because when Bowman signed his most recent extension, Ally did as well. Ally's extension goes for 2 years longer than Bowman's extension goes for. So that is something to keep an eye on when Bowman free agent talks really heat up. But I don't think that's going to be anytime too soon.
I did notice the one person brought up, and all of it was Justin Haley again. But I think the next...
I'm not buying on Haley being worth taking over to 48 right now.
I don't think he's a clear upgrade. I think that's at best maybe a lateral move. Like I think Haley's really good, but I don't think he's better than Bowman. Right now.
I'm watching in all of this, I think Eric might have just brought it up, and I was just curious on age, and I'm like, because you mentioned Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is going to be 40 years old soon. He's not. Why would you get rid of a 31-year-old Alex Bowman for 40-year-old didn't win, didn't make the playoff Kyle Busch at this point? I just wouldn't see the reason for it. But
sponsor dollars, probably more money that would be brought in with Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman.
But right now, Ally's there. You don't got to worry about it though.
You can always bring in more money.
Okay, but anyways, Bowman is fine until the end of his contract.
Yeah, I think so.
So Alex is 31. By the time his contract gets done in 26, that's 2 more years to be 33. Then okay, maybe it's time to think. Okay, maybe we move on. Who is 22 years old right now, be 24 following the 2026 season, is Raja Caruth, who I think is still on a track that could put him into that 48 car one day, which in and of itself is an amazing story, him being a Jimmy Johnson fan.
That's true.
He needs to step it up next year, though. I mean, what he's shown, like people talk about, he needs to go to Xfinity this coming year. It's like, why? He's been outside of a Las Vegas race pretty relevant in trucks.
I'm not willing to put it into my prediction segment at this point, but I think Raja Karoop is the next driver to 48 car or a renumbered car or something.
And I think that if he gets on this trajectory that I think a lot of us are hoping he can. I need to see more. I'm not saying this from someone that dislikes Raja. I bought his damn die. I'll tell a story at the end.
That today, yeah.
No, I bought it up
like
north. Yeah,
I
got a funny story I'll tell later on, probably like after the predictions and everything, like for the race. But like I got his diecast and everything. I've known the guy since like 2019. I'm not rooting against him. I want him to do well. I need to see the improvement this year to make me think that in another year or two he can be in the 48 and legitimately compete.
Yeah, I think he's definitely still a couple years away. He didn't get into a real race car until like 5 years ago for the first time. So he still has ways to develop, I think. But the Hendrick and Ally connection is real. So that's something to watch.
I get people are saying he's not ready for a cup ride. No, he's not. But in 2 years, he's 24,
Maybe.
25 years old. You never know what he's going to be like then.
Yeah, could be. But yeah, Alex Bowman will be in the 48 next year, as far as he understands, at least. That's what he told reporters. We'll have this exact same debate probably in 6 months when he probably has maybe 1 win or 0 wins on the year, is bordering on a playoff spot. This will come up again next year. You guys, everyone just wait. But let's move on. I want to touch on this just real quick.
Harvick will be in the 5 somehow. That rumor's been around since like 2016 that Harvick will be in the 5.
Oh, yeah.
And Jeff Gordon will be added into the playoffs.
Of course, naturally. There's a couple other big stories, but Adam Stern reports this week that the new charter agreement could get signed by Friday, presumably, before the playoffs begin.
We need to get this done. I'm so over it.
Well, Denny Hamlin, I don't have all of his quotes in front of me, but he had some very, I would say, direct quotes that suggest that no, he doesn't think talks are close. He thinks some teams believe they're close to an agreement. He thinks others don't. I think it's unlikely a deal gets signed this year. That's me saying that, not necessarily Denny Hamlin, or this week, I should say. That's not me saying, or that's me saying this, not necessarily Denny Hamlin, although he probably would agree. According to Sports Business Journal, there were 3 main, I would say, like concerns that the teams had. One, they want to have a say over rule changes. NASCAR will announce a new rule, a new part, and the teams have to pay for that. They want to have a say over those kinds of changes. Second, it was kind of confusing. I'm not exactly sure, but they want to maintain their same relationships with drivers. They're worried about, what IP does NASCAR now own and operate? What do the teams still own and operate? That's a concern. And 3, perhaps the most notable one, is that there's a new clause in the latest charter proposal that says, in so many words, that the teams cannot be outspoken or critical of the sanctioning body, of the charter system, of the league. And that's what prompted 2311 investor Curtis Polk to wear that like sign on his shirt
so
that
cringy.
said, it was kind of cringe, but it got people talking, and it drew attention to this clause. I guess
Denny
this
Hamlin
proposal.
had a very similar sign at media days.
It just makes me think. It makes me think of like April Fool's Day when I was in 5th grade, and everyone would put tape on each other's chair, and we'd walk around with tape on our butt to like not realize like that. It just seems like you got pranked.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's how the teams feel. The teams feel like, can't believe it. They're like, you got to be pranking me. After all these years, this is the deal you're giving
We're
us?
talking teams. What teams? There's one team this whole damn time.
And I think there are others that probably sympathize with their case, but aren't.
They need
willing
to speak
be outspoken.
up. Somebody,
I'm
sorry, if it's just Denny Hamlin and Curtis Polk and then Michael Jordan every now and then sprinkling in a NASCAR's going to die quote, like he said, we're going full freaking circle with this. Where like we have now the people in the sport and the crazy boomers on Facebook saying the same damn thing for different reasons. Like if there's other teams, somebody needs to be outspoken to get what they want. If not, you don't deserve to get what you want.
Here's something else too. Like if you can't be critical of NASCAR, does Denny Hamlin basically have to stop his podcast? Because you can't run a podcast like that and not be critical from time to time. I know this is actually a real thing in other sports. I heard about this because the NFL has this, because Tom Brady is looking at possibly becoming an invested owner in the Las Vegas Raiders, but he's actually also going to be in the booth for Fox. So technically he can't say anything bad or stuff along those lines towards the NFL if he becomes an owner as well.
It's the kind of thing, like you're saying, Danny, that exists in other leagues and everyone kind of accepts it. But the difference is those other leagues operate sort of to where, the commissioner is voted on by the owners. NASCAR doesn't operate that way. The owners, the France family, are the kings. They are the dictators. The teams don't vote for them. They do what the owners tell them to do,
And like, even just off of the entire stance of how bad this looks for NASCAR when it comes to saying that, NASCAR themselves doesn't want the charters to be permanent. They don't want them to be like franchises.
Yep, they don't want it to be like a league.
So you don't want franchises, and you don't want to treat them like that, but you want them to run under the same rules.
Yeah,
and it's like, you've opened this door. You've opened the door now and let this kind of proto-franchise setting be put in place. But you want to govern it the way you governed it since 1949. Like,
yeah, it doesn't gel.
Yeah, they're never going to gel. It's either you got to go full on. You either got to full on make them permanent, and run it very similarly. I don't think the France family ever give it up, but maybe have a representative with similar power to the France family, like on the board or something. Or you need to take the charters away, go through probably 5 to 10 years of having 20 car fields and a lot of people not showing up for a lot of races, suffer a lot, and then hope you can just run it the way you did before in the 2030s when it'll be even more outdated. Like, I mean, NASCAR's hands are tied in that degree. Teams' hands are tied, but the fact that they won't take any damn action. I mean, other than Denny Hamlin, somebody else needs to speak up, because...
Well, it just goes to show, we talked all this time, who has the leverage. And Denny said today, I think both sides have some leverage. NASCAR has 90% of the leverage at this point. And that's why there was reports a few weeks ago that some of the more recent proposals have actually been less team-friendly. I think because NASCAR knows, hey, we have the leverage. You've been a thorn in our side for months. Take it or leave it. I think NASCAR is the one starting to strong arm the teams, and still 23XI is the only team willing to speak up and say anything.
And I saw a lot of people being like, well, the small teams, they sound like the ones that'll sign, like they should stick with the big teams. And to that I ask why? Because if you end up going more with NASCAR and getting their good graces, NASCAR has shown, and they will never admit it, NASCAR has shown that they will show preference to people. One way or another.
Did you hear Denny Hamlin's quote where he said nobody from NASCAR presented Reddick the regular season championship trophy, and he said that was disappointing? Like, I don't know. Maybe that was just a logistical oversight, or maybe it was intentional. They didn't want to send Steve Phelps or Elton Sawyer or anyone over there. That's
the price of being the outspoken one.
Yep, I think that's no coincidence.
Cliche saying like this, but NASCAR definitely sees it as can't let the inmates run the asylum here.
But right now, I don't know. The Joker's running the asylum. It's like, is that any better? I don't know.
Oh, and the thing is that if, God, I can't believe I'm saying this. If Brian France were running things, I think NASCAR it would actually make more sense what NASCAR put forward, because love him or hate him, Brian France ruled with an iron fist outside of doing anything or jumping into whatever Hoop TV asked him to. But with teams, he ran it with an iron fist. The France family did. Now, they'll say Jim France does, but everything's about being collaborative and together, and everyone's a family here. It's a NASCAR family. And it's like, okay, like you're sending mixed signals. Like, one way or another, somebody's got to give. And at this point, it's probably going to be the teams, unless, again, and I go back to this point, somebody needs to speak up. Somebody other than Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan and Curtis Polk. Because, Michael Jordan leaving will be a big deal. But Michael Jordan isn't Rick Hendrick to NASCAR fans. He's not Roger Penske to overall racing fans. He's not Jack Roush to Ford fans, who is a very big influence in Ford over the last 40 years. Somebody with huge influence that can get some public pressure on NASCAR has to speak out. And I'm sorry, Denny Hamlin's not going to move that needle. Nobody outside the sport gives a damn about the charters, so they're not going to care what Michael Jordan has to say. The only people that are going to care really are a few people that aren't going to be able to have a loud enough voice to make anything really matter. And if they don't speak up, they're not going to get anything done.
So I've seen reports on this. What I think is going to happen is ultimately most of the teams, if not all, are going to agree to this deal or a version of it that's, he's going to give them more money, but isn't going to give them everything they want. And in 7 years, when the deal expires, I think they're hoping, as morbid as it is, that a France is not in charge, and that instead maybe a Ben Kennedy is in charge, or maybe a guy like a Steve Phelps even has more power, because I do think some of these other, and in some cases younger NASCAR leaders are going to be a little more team friendly than Jim France. Jim France, I think, quietly does rule with an iron fist in many regards. And I think that's what's so frustrating, is that it is so quiet, You can't read the guy. You can't really know what he's thinking until he just kind of says it. There's no negotiation. There's no telegraph. It's just
as much as I like Ben Kennedy, though. You said that not being a France, he's a France of a different name.
no, but you know what I mean. Like, obviously, yes, he's
He's a
technically
new.
a France, but
He's our
Kennedy.
generation. Though.
My point was that the younger, my point is if your name is France, you are Jim France. You are older, but more than likely, and you're going to rule a certain way.
I'm looking at it here. I mean, he was born in 1944. This contract ends in end of 2031. Like he's gonna be 87.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if he retires, whatever the case may be, I think they're like Ben Kennedy every week, I swear, is getting promoted. I think the hope is that someone like a Ben Kennedy is in charge in 7 years, and they will be more friendly to the teams.
And look at the last time there was a real passing of the torch of power in NASCAR. Because, yeah, the Brian France deal and all that, I think that was kind of thrust upon Jim France, if anything. Like, yes. Hey, here, you take it. But when Bill France Jr. stepped down from his role in 2003, it was Brian France that took over. And within about 2-3 years, we had a new championship format. We were about to have another one, brand new TV deal set up. We have, all these safety rules that were put in place, and in large part he spearheaded. A lot of changes happened that kind of thrust NASCAR into what a lot of people will say is this new modern age. So I wouldn't blame the teams if that's what they're thinking. At that point, they're like, how many of the car owners in some of these big teams are going to be out there still prevalent? Like, in 7 years, do we really think that like Rick Hendrick, Roger Penske, Jack Roush, like those Joe Gibbs, all those four, like they're going to be the ones that are?
Well, you're already seeing it'll be the Dave Alperns and the the Denny Hamlins, the Jeff Gordons. It's the Brad Keselowskis and Steve Newmarks. It is going to be. There is a passing of the torch going on on the team side. I think they're also waiting for the passing of the torch to happen on the NASCAR side. Yeah. I think that's when real movement is going to happen, and that's going to be in the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, on that note of charters, and you also mentioned Brad Keselowski, that can take us into the next part.
Excellent work, Danny. Yes, RFK Racing, according to Jordan Bianchi of The Athletic tonight, is expected to add a third team. I think it was first reported by Sports Business Journal a while back that Kroger potentially would end up with RFK. Sounds like that deal is very close to happening, if not completely signed. So a third RFK car, chartered or not, sponsored by Kroger, with Ryan Preece behind the wheel, is the most likely outcome, according to The Athletic. So
I never thought I'd actually see Ryan Preece get arguably a better deal out of all this.
I'm a little shocked either, but this is why you build bridges, not walls. Preece was sponsored by Kroger during his JTG Doherty days. Must have left a hell of a good impression on those folks.
As the sirens come on back.
I remember seeing like literally ads of Ryan Preece in Kroger stores.
I saw those too. Some of them are still around. Like they haven't been changed in 7 years.
I think I saw more of Ryan Preece than I ever saw Stenhouse around Kroger.
Yeah.
And there to go.
That's okay. So reactions, I guess, and this is all sort of developing breaking news. I haven't even read the full Athletic article at this point. But Ryan Preece to RFK in a third car. How do you feel about that, Danny?
I like it. I like RFK just having another car in general because they were the ones that broke NASCAR into having a limit anyways at one point where they had 5, and then so I like them going back to 3. And have we heard anything about number? I'm guessing the 60 probably.
More than likely, because I think. Well, either that or you can go way back since Trackhouse didn't pick it up and take the 97.
They could do the 29 as well. Isn't that a family name for the Keselowskis or a family number for the Keselowskis?
Yeah, that I did not think about that part of it.
Bring back Jim McMurray's 26, or no one has that, do they?
No.
Not that I know of. I'll say, as much as that car never ran well, it looked really damn good. I'm cautious.
Pretty good. A 26, with the same font that Keselowski uses.
I think so. So I'm cautiously, not optimistic, cautious. I guess just skeptical. I can't even say like cautiously. I'm just skeptical about this. My first reaction was more like I don't see why Preece really what he's done to earn this ride. We hear about the potential and the talent and stuff like that. On the other end of it, though, I think of Chris Buescher. When Buescher came over, he came from front row, never really did anything all that much except for a fog win. But, people look and they're like, ooh, man, that's kind of a downgrade going from Ricky Stenhouse, who just, won those races in Talladega
won those
and Daytona.
Xfinity championships.
And won championships with you guys. Now you got Chris Buescher.
I guess Buescher also won a champ. He only won one, though.
Yeah, but he only won one.
Yeah.
I know. Who would have ever guessed that JTG would end up with Roush's original franchise driver, and then RFK gets both of the two that drove for him?
Both is pretty crazy, actually.
So that's where I'm skeptical, but I'm almost optimistic in the sense of Roush with Keselowski's lead can make something like this work. If he doesn't make it work, especially if it's year 2 years in that doesn't work, I'm get him out. You can get somebody better. I still like the upside of Justin Haley on the Ford side, but it sounds like that might not be going on as well. But on the other end of it, I'm what options are out there left at this point other than Ryan Preece?
I'm with you that a Justin Haley move to an RFK car would probably excite me a little bit more. I do still hope that Haley ends up maybe in the Spire 7. I do think that would be pretty cool. But Preece to Roush, yeah, I'm kind of with you guys. We hear all the time about how great he is, his background, his racecraft, and he's shown us flashes. When he took a chance on himself and cherry picked a handful of Xfinity races for Gibbs, he won. He looked really good. And then even fast forward to the last couple of years, one-off Truck Series races, he's won. So a good stock car driver is in there. We know that. But the Cup Series results have not been flashy in the slightest. Talked earlier about flashy drivers. That's not been Ryan Preece. That being said, when he joined Stewart-Haas Racing, they clearly were on the decline. And I think they've only gotten worse. I know Briscoe just won Darlington, but they've lost some of their access to Ford. Obviously, veterans like Harvick and Almirola have left the team. Sponsors have left the team. So Ryan Preece boarded a sinking ship at Stewart-Haas. So to your point about Chris Buescher, I would compare the equipment Buescher was in 2015, 2016 with front row. I would compare that to the equipment Preece has been in the past couple of years. And so maybe magic could happen. We'll
also say, though, I'm looking here. He is woefully behind his teammates still. Barry, Gregson, and Briscoe have all competed for or won races. And
he was excluded from their driver tutoring session. What was that about?
Maybe it's just, classroom bullying. I don't know. But on the other end of it, of all of the chartered full-time drivers, he is one of 2 that has not led a lap this year, the other being Eric Jones, who broke his back earlier this year.
That's tough.
He's got a top 5, 2 top 10s, but Josh Berry has 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s. Gregson has 1 7.
Look back. This year's a weird year. Again, Tony Stewart doesn't exist. They're going out of business. They're losing people left and right. Go back to last year. His numbers in the 41 were very similar. In some cases, were actually slightly better than what Cole Custer had done the previous year. And we all look at Cole Custer as an Xfinity Series champion. Everyone's like, yeah, he's earned another chance in Cup next year. So that's my thing. I think Preece, he could still be great one day. I think at best he's an Alex Bowman, Bubba Wallace type driver. And with RFK, that might be good enough to make the playoffs. So I'm cautiously optimistic to see how this plays out. I'm excited that RFK is going to get to expand because everyone says 3 cars are the way to go. That's the optimal team size in the next gen era. Cool. They have a big sponsor backing them. Awesome. I'm happy for RFK. I hope Preece does well.
When was the last time they had 3 cars? Was it 2015, 16?
Bain, Biffle,
and they had Stenhouse, Biffle, and Edwards.
Bain. Or
no,
Bain.
Bain was
Bain in
2015.
the 6, right? Yeah.
It was somewhere in the 2016, I think.
Yeah,
it's looking
probably
at chat
2016.
saying 2016.
I think 2016 would have been the last year because
because they had Bain.
Because then they went to when did Newman join the team? Because then it was just Newman and Stenhouse for
Newman
a couple
joined
of years.
in 19. Yeah, 19.
Then it was Buescher, Newman and Buescher.
So my point is it's the first time we've talked about real meaningful expansion from this team. in a long time.
7 or 8 years. That's exciting.
Well,
I'm excited about
if
that.
you look at growing the team, even, I mean, you got to look back to like the late 90s.
Well, also they did introduce stage 60 for like 1 or 2 races this year.
Yeah, but that's a
something.
part timer. But
That's something.
You had 5 teams.
That's just the
look
welcome back David Reagan into.
You'll have 5 teams that made the playoffs that we'll talk or chase in. I'm gonna call it Chase because that's a better name in 2005, and then I believe it was after 2009 they went to 4, and then 3 in 2011.
Whenever
12?
Edwards left, probably.
No,
because they got rid of this. They got rid of
the 6 after 2011.
Yes, but then they didn't bring it back until like 15.
No, and that was to replace the 99.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So, I mean, it's like for the longest time, it's like 15 years of just being like, oh my God, Roush is dying. Like this is
just
sad.
spinning their wheels. Yeah,
it's like you're watching the freaking Browns play in 2018, and you're just like, let it end. And now it's like, you get your Kevin Stefanski put in there with Brad Keselowski, and you get your well, maybe not your quarterback that you necessarily want with all the press, but
Ryan Priest. You're comparing Ryan Priest to Deshaun Watson.
I was more going Chris Buescher, but we can roll with that.
No, Chris Buescher's been good. Who else do the Browns have? He's Joe Flacco. I don't know.
But imagine going back to just 2018 and telling us on the show back then, hey, in a few years, Stewart-Haas Racing is gone, and RFK is a growing powerhouse of Ford.
I would have said, thank you, Matt Kenseth, rebuilding team in 2018.
That's right.
I think I would have to say Roush. If I come back and said RFK, I'd be like, what is that? Is that
They'd be like, the guy that got assassinated? Like, really? He's back from the dead? Damn, they're working miracles over there. By the way, we are 44 likes away.
And we're closing in on the second hour.
If y'all don't want to know about random drivers, I mean, I get it. I really do, guys. I understand entirely. I get it. Sometimes you guys just don't want to take the simple task of clicking a button. I get it.
Danny, you can slow down, honestly, because we still have a ways to go. We have the whole prediction accountability session still to go.
Let's pop.
Let's roll into that.
If they don't want us to do it when we get done with that, I mean, I get it, guys.
All right. Well, let's look into the prediction segment here. So each host will make up to 3 NASCAR Motorsports show-related predictions. We'll keep track each week of the right or wrong predictions, and I would like you to keep predictions concise. And then 2-3 years, we can play with it, but just in general, like there needs to be an end date to it. So let's get to our accountability session. Start with moi. I got a pretty good week here. I said Kyle Busch and Ross Chastain in separate predictions here would miss the 2024 NASCAR playoffs. They did. The only problem I had is I said there would not be an overtime in the Darlington weekend. I should have just said Cup, but it's what it is. But I had a good week. Eric, a little rough. Yeah, you did say that Tyler Reddick would win the regular season title.
Hell yeah, barely.
You, though, did say that you would be within 5 pick points of the chat by the end of the Cup regular season. You're not that close.
I'm like Kyle Busch. I've mounted a charge. I'm getting close.
You're getting close, just not that close. You said Darlington would be the 5th straight Cup race with an overtime. It was not. And you said somebody in the playoffs before the race at Darlington would be the winner. And Mr. Briscoe was not.
Oh, man, I totally butchered that prediction. Jeez.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad night. Danny, you had a worse night. All wrong here. You said Stewart-Haas Racing would go winless.
Y'all can't see it, but Danny was just enthusiastically nodding.
You said Stewart-Haas Racing would go winless in 2024. They did not.
Hey, to be fair, who saw that coming?
That's tough.
Point.
Wow.
You said at least one of the legacy teams would finish top 10 at Darlington. I believe they both finished like 24th and 23rd.
Jones had mechanical issues, but he was up to like 14th at one point.
Yeah, he was running decent. You also said we would have a car flip for the 3rd week in a row.
I said I was prepared for that one to be wrong. So
yeah, that was a bold one.
So, yeah, that would have been a hail melon. Prediction percentages, though, I am in the lead with 43.86%. Eric is at 32.84%, and Danny at 29.5.
Danny, we need to shoot some layups this week.
I think I got at least one.
Actually, I just looked at mine. They are not layups. I've got some pretty wild ones.
So I'll start us off. I don't know if like you guys have, I know a lot of chat probably hasn't followed some of the headlines in football of like former coaches and stuff. Former Vikings coach Mike Zimmer, coincidentally in like the month that his payroll with the Vikings ended from being fired, went out in a complete blaze of glory in the media, just trashing everybody. And it got me thinking, I think by the end of 2025, there will be a quote or article with Tony Stewart that will cause a huge NASCAR controversy, either maybe bad-mouthing a driver, sponsors, Ford, Gene Haas, you name it. Tony Stewart will make headlines. Maybe he'll be cranky, staying up all night, taking care of that kid once his kid's born, but I think there's going to be at least one. Tony Stewart cannot help himself. I don't care how old he is.
Shoot, I hope you're right, honestly, for the content. Content is king. My first prediction is a lot less spicy, a lot less interesting than that. Ford looks so good at Daytona. I'm doubling down. I know it's a slightly different track. I think Ford, as a manufacturer, will lead the most laps at Atlanta this weekend in the Cup race.
I'm going to follow a similar path that I was on last week and say no flips this week in Atlanta. It's just a lot more narrow than the other tracks. I don't feel like they'll have the room to get airborne like we see at the other super speedway races.
Brad Keselowski flies by. I'll go with this one here. Listening to what he was saying on his Ask Junior segment, I think the 2024 Bristol Xfinity race will be Dale Jr.'s last official NASCAR race in the top 3 series.
I could believe that.
That should really be a prediction. It feels like that's just kind of like scene coming now.
He left the door open. He was like, it's probably, but you never know for sure. And like his wife's sitting right there, and he's like looking at her, and I'm like, all right, so that's an Amy decision. So good to know.
My second prediction, this guy has been getting dragged on social media for weeks. A lot of it is deserved. Did y'all hear him, Corey LaJoie, puffing out his chest after a top 10 run this weekend?
That was great.
I'll throw him a bone. I think he goes back to back. Corey LaJoie, top 10 at Atlanta on Sunday.
I hope so. I think he's been getting overhated now.
Yeah, I think he's been getting a little overhated. And so I'm going to go LaJoie, top 10.
Like, the jokes were fun after Daytona, but like some people on social media just need to get a life.
Yeah, don't make it personal. It doesn't have to be personal. You can hate the driver, the way he drives, you wrecked your guy, whatever, but let's not make it ugly now.
Only one playoff driver will win in the first round of the playoffs.
Ooh, I like it.
That is a half-court shot right there. I like it.
I like that one. That's good.
Right, what's your final prediction, Jarrett?
I think I'm going to say this. I think either one or both of Kyle Larson or Denny Hamlin will miss making a round or the Final Four by the margin of points they lost from winning the regular season championship for Larson, or the penalty that Denny Hamlin got for the engine.
Wait, hold on. So Larson would miss out on a round by like 3 points?
By like 5 points.
Okay.
Because that's the regular season.
Is it 5? Okay.
And then I'll say I won't even add in the way that the regular season points added out. I'll say Denny will miss out by less than 10.
Okay. I got you.
I'll say, I think one of them will. And I think one of them can look back to, Larson can look back to running Indy, unfortunately. People are always going to bring that up if this happens. And Denny can look back to literally having the worst luck of any driver this season, playoff-wise, when it comes to his engine being packed up too early. I mean, that's what it amounts to.
Yeah. I gave Corey LaJoie fans something to chew on. I'm going to do the same now for Kyle Busch fans. He's been hot lately. I think Kyle Busch will win a race this season.
I like that. Sometimes we make interesting ones related to the show, and I have a show-related one.
If it's about one of us, should we take the headphones off?
No.
Okay.
Slap Shoes will make a reference to his recent trip to Japan in the NWP live chat at some point between now and the conclusion of NWP in 2 weeks on September 18th.
Oh, wow. The next 2 weeks.
I could see that happening. Yeah, I could see that happening.
We haven't heard much about Slap in a while, but I feel like We should hear from him soon.
And
about
last
his,
time we heard from him, I think he was in Japan.
we should
Yeah,
hear from
he
him
got
soon,
folded up by the
referencing his
muscle.
trip to Japan in some way.
It's because he got folded up into a small Rubik's Cube by the muscle mommies.
I will ask Chap, don't encourage him to do it, but I think it can happen.
No cheating,
We
chat.
can ask him about his trip.
So slap.
I'm telling you, I think he got folded
Visited
up into
any
a box by the
foreign
muscle
countries
mommies in that bar in Japan.
So he's
You
not
didn't
thinking
see-
straight.
If you didn't,
That we didn't know more about. We need to get him back on the show
Oh my
just to
God.
talk about that.
yeah, I want to know. It's like, so like, what did they do to you? What
Exclusive.
unspeakable events that you probably shouldn't say on YouTube did they do to you?
700 likes, chat. Thank you all so much. That was a high mark. That was one of our highest marks of the year, and you guys hit it just past the top of the second hour. Thank you all so much, and that's great timing as well because Jared, I think before we get to our Atlanta picks and preview, we should do the random driver of the week. How does that sound?
Yeah, let's do it. All right. So,
all right,
fellow co-hosts,
hiding the chat.
Yes, need to hide the chat. You guys are tied at the top of the board, 10-10, on the season so far. It's been a very even race.
I had a chance to get ahead while Eric was gone last week.
Yes, and Danny has kind of the last 5 bookended it. You got Cody Ware last week and Quinn Houff a couple weeks back. I got you guys with Bill Rexford a couple weeks.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
And then Eric had 2 weeks in a row with Corey Heim and Lake Speed.
Hell yeah. Let's roll.
Let's get it going. All right. This random driver hails from Janesville, Wisconsin.
Okay.
This random driver began racing at the age of 16 at his home track, the Rockford Speedway.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I've been there. I know where that is.
I lived right next to there. This random driver once had a rivalry with Dale Earnhardt Jr.
You're trying to get me to guess Matt Kenseth, but I know it's not him. So don't worry.
This random driver was the rookie of the year in his first Truck Series season.
Oh yeah, well that eliminates Kenseth.
This random driver led 998 laps across the top 3 NASCAR series over his career. So close. So close to 1,000.
Yeah, almost to the 1,000 mark.
I have tweeted about this random driver once. Danny, Eric, you never have.
Oh, this is a tough one, Danny.
This random driver actually made over $30 million in race winnings during his NASCAR career.
Big money. He must have raced kind of in the gold.
This is probably like a mid-2000s driver.
That's what I'm guessing.
This random driver once ran a race with the phrase 11 million on his sponsorless car, in reference to the 11 million live viewers NASCAR was averaging a week at that time.
Weird. I don't remember this story. I'm trying to think of Wisconsin guys.
Also, that's weird. If you're sponsorless, why do you care about how many viewers?
Yeah.
Getting?
I guess to show potential sponsors, here's how many people are seeing my truck right now or car right now. So they said this person was the Truck Series Rookie of the Year in their first truck year.
Yes.
Right? I'm going to make a guess because I don't have a feeling I'm going to even come up with 3 names that make sense. So I'm going to burn one now. How about Johnny Sauter?
Is that your pick?
Yes.
It's wrong.
Damn.
I'm also going to burn one just to get me and Eric even. Feel like that's going to be wrong, but he's a Wisconsin guy, Scott Wimmer.
Wrong.
Okay.
You heard hold us in such suspense. He looks at us like he's like terrified of our answer.
Like, damn it, they're going to get it. This random driver never competed in the Clash or the All-Star race. This random driver was once actually arrested right before a race weekend for a domestic dispute in 2013, charged with assault and false imprisonment, and was allowed to race that week in the Charlotte race.
2013. Damn.
Mhm.
Wasn't doing this show back then. I don't remember. Who would this have been?
Let me see. Let me sure.
As a chat, I assume the chat's probably figured it out.
Yeah.
Can you tell me one more time the charge, just so I know it?
Domestic dispute. It was assault on a female and false imprisonment,
Like he imprisoned somebody?
and then was allowed to race that week.
That is shocking.
which I believe a year later, was it, or not even? Kurt Busch, maybe it was 2015, so maybe a little over a year later, Kurt Busch was not allowed to race for some pretty over the line things.
So we must be talking about like Golden Boy here. This must have been like a fan favorite. I don't know.
This random driver's best Daytona 500 finish was 19th in 2005. First race I ever watched. Was
Probably
flag
one of the first races I ever watched. Yeah.
It's a good one.
Who else from Wisconsin? We've already done Dick Trickle. Did we do Dick Trickle already?
Yeah, we did Dick Trickle.
Yeah, no, that was.
I think John got that one.
Yeah.
This random driver has raced in the trucks at Eldora.
Okay.
Good amount of people did that, though.
When did Eldora start? 2013?
Yeah.
The truck series, I mean.
The Mud Summer Classic that got sued by the MLB.
Oh, did not know that.
Yeah, because
where does the MLB has that name?
No, they had like the Midsummer Classic, and it was too close legally to the name.
Mud Summer Classic.
All they had to do was change one letter, and NASCAR didn't want to get in hot water for a truck
Fine,
series.
we'll call it the Midsummer Classic. Okay.
This random driver's career high points finish in Cup was 23rd.
So they were just plain.
Not doing much.
This random driver's first Cup race was in the 06 car at Martinsville.
Oh, Danny, that might have clicked something in Danny's mind. He made a face.
Not enough.
This random driver's career high finish in Cup was 6th at Talladega twice. First in 2008, a very famous race in 2008, and again in 2014.
2014 Talladega?
Mm-hmm. I believe the fall race, I want to say. Can't remember off the top of my head.
What car would they have been in?
You said 2008 Talladega fall?
Yep.
I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't know where he's from exactly, but J.J. Yaley?
No.
Okay.
And we have done J.J. Yaley. That's actually the first driver we ever did.
Oh, well.
You can have that one back, Danny. I'll give you that one back.
Are you sure? Is
But-
Jarrett going to allow it?
No.
I guess
I'm gonna be even to both of you guys. Nope, because we got the list on the bottom that you can check.
Oh,
Wow. I try to avoid
Yeah.
that like I avoid the chat, so.
Oh my goodness.
This
Jared's
random
brutal.
driver has raced in Dodges, Fords, Toyotas, and Chevys over his NASCAR career. All 4 of them.
So every single thing.
Not Pontiac, though.
Where's Man, I feel dumb not guessing. I feel like I should know the Wisconsin drivers.
So we're running out of guesses.
This is tough.
Or
How many more
clues.
do we... Okay, I'll guess after this next one. I'll just come up with a name.
This random driver's first Xfinity race was driving for RCR. Nothing?
I'll throw one more guess. I don't know where he's from. Matt Crafton.
Looking at the chat. No.
Did you make you see that the chat had the answer?
No, I just wanted to have a little suspense on it.
Alright.
This random driver never scored a top 10 in the Xfinity series. This random driver ran for the likes of Penske, Rick Ware, Roush, Bang Racing, and Randy Moss, among others.
Gosh.
You guys got one guess apiece to burn.
How many clues? You're not going to tell us how many clues are left?
I think it's like under 5.
Okay, I'm going to get this.
Can you say those teams one more time?
Penske, Rick Ware Racing, Roush, Bang Racing, Randy Moss, among others.
Dang, that's a crazy lineup.
Wait, so there are other teams that he or she, probably he, drove for?
Yeah. They're a little too obvious, though.
Oh, so you're giving us like the... Okay, damn.
This random driver sits in a 3-way tie for 19th on the all-time truck wins list, tied with Cole Custer, Grant Enfinger, and Zane Smith.
This guy's probably like old enough to be all their... Well, maybe not Enfinger, but probably old enough to be all their dads. Who got arrested 10 years ago?
This random driver is a Truck Series champion.
Mhm. Haven't been that many of those. Give me a second. Not that I know it. I don't know every truck champion by year.
Now, this random driver won their title by 9 points over second place, 18 over third, and 40 points over fourth. This was back at the Latford system, so very, very tight championship.
Pretty tight. Can we get the year? Can we get
2003.
Oh, he actually gave us the year. That's a big help. Oh, how many is that the last?
What?
Travis Quaffle.
Oh, I think
Correct.
it was Travis Quaffle. Yeah,
Danny got it. Danny takes the lead.
Good job.
It's
Yeah,
flu
that's it.
game, baby.
Yeah.
Nice job. I had
Oh,
one clue left, and it was his son currently races in the top 3 series of NASCAR.
Ooh, yeah. No, that 2003. I forgot what year it was. I knew it was early 2000s. I didn't know he was from Wisconsin. I feel like I should know that.
Yeah, Janesville. That's actually where my fiance used to live before we moved down here. Was Janesville.
Wow.
Jokingly, I thought about saying her name, but he said that.
And then that's also the same place Tony Romo's from. So
Bring the chat back. Chat was probably screaming at me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but-
didn't know. I forgot. I did not know he was from Wisconsin. Now I know. Learned something new. tonight.
I'm really, really excited for next week's driver. I already have decided who it's going to be. I'll just say it's a guy right off the bat because I already said him. So,
By the way, I'm tired of people saying who's smoking. I have a humidifier, just so you see it.
Danny, you need to just have it in your lap so you just like see. Well, how does it look if it's in your lap?
Let's actually see.
That's it. Oh man, if it was like this one a little.
Turn it right here.
There you go. Smoke weed every day. You need to have the humidifier on for if you do a live stream on 420 just to like trick people. Be like, how can you do this? This is a family sport. It's like
In the chat, they said smoking that Bowman pack.
well, that was fun. I think we got one more big thing to look into.
Before we get to the final super chat stage break, let's talk Atlanta. A few notes. SVG is back in Cup driving the 16. The Xfinity Series field, I believe, is their smallest field all year. It's only 37 cars. Not quite a full 38 car field. But we'll go with the Xfinity Series race. Saturday is the Focused Health 200, 163 laps, 40, 40, 83 as the stage breakdown starts at 3 p.m. Eastern time on USA, also on PRN, Sirius XM. 81 degrees with a 50 to 60% chance of rain in the morning. John Hunter Nemechek is the defending winner. The Cup race on Sunday is the Quaker State 400, 260 laps, 60, 100, and 100 are the stage breakdowns. 3 o'clock Eastern start on USA, PRN, Sirius XM. Weather looking a little better for Sunday. 79 degrees, partly cloudy with a 13% chance of rain. William Byron is the defending Fall Atlanta winner, I believe. The pick points. Oh, it's getting tight. Chat, you are holding on to the lead, 398 points total, but I'm now only 13 points back. That's the closest I've been in a while. Jarrett, only 15 points back. That's the closest he's been in a while. Danny, 20 back. That's the closest
I've been in a while.
So it could be very interesting with a super speedway
You're
style race.
blowing it, chat. You're blowing it.
You're blowing it.
You know, I've noticed this season has just been like streaky from all four of us.
It's like an accordion. It's just like, oh, and we're all kind of staying in the same realm. I like that our rule change this year where we all have to pick different people. It's really increased the parity of the show, and it's really worked out to our advantage. The chaos. Yes. Well, Atlanta picks. We'll start with the Xfinity Series race. Danny, you start us off. Who wins on Saturday?
He looked very good here in the spring. He didn't get the win, but I think he can this time. Jesse Love.
Oh, okay.
That was my
Jared?
number one pick. I'm gonna it's a very chalk episode for me, but I'm gonna go Austin Hill on this one. I think he suffered a little bit of a not so good race until it went very good at the end. I think he'll be better this time.
And my pick, you guys took my top two. I will go with Ryan Truex. I think he just won Daytona, gets himself another one.
All right.
Chat.
Chat's still been trying to take 2 and 21, but they can't have that.
They keep
Yeah,
going with Allgaier, and it's very hit or miss for them.
I
Yeah.
see Allgaier and
I'm
there's
seeing
like
about an 81,
yeah.
18. Creed's coming in there.
Oh,
Didn't
now some
SVG
Creed.
run top 5 in this race in the spring?
He might have actually. Got a few SVGs. Creed. Oh man, it's a little
I
tight.
feel like it's closest between 7 and 18.
With
Okay,
arms wide open.
Let me do a quick poll. Oh my gosh, I cannot type.
Just got to put the numbers in.
I
Poll?
know.
Answer the poll.
Poll.
Oh,
Mine.
all right. I'm gonna let it run for like 15 seconds, so y'all be quick.
Hurry up and
Okay.
vote. Answer the poll.
Doom, 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 doom,
Paul?
doom, 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 doom. All right, I know there's a lag, but we're gonna go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
Swear
2,
to God, if it goes 50-50.
Clicky. Oh my gosh. Creed,
With arms
53%
wide open.
of the vote.
He might win this race
So,
or
with this-
finish second place.
With this pick and knowing he's never won before, can you guys go lower in the standings?
Can he finish higher? Then
Then our other picks.
the
Yeah,
second place
Chester
again.
said, screw it. That's our Ty Dillon pick.
Wow. The chat is divided. We got a few. Justin in the chat says chat just lost another week. One
Hey.
person says chat is blowing it again.
If Creed ends up winning this week, y'all are gonna think you are the absolute biggest galaxy brain geniuses out there.
That's
So
true. That is true.
don't count those
we'll see it
chickens.
all we'll see it all in the chat next week. We were big brain.
Yeah, don't count your chickens just yet.
All right. Cup Series suck pick. Jarrett, Danny, start us off.
One of us.
Like Jared, Danny,
I couldn't remember the order. Sorry.
Harrison Burton. He's going out fast.
Oh.
I know he won Daytona, but still.
I am in the same vein as Danny with the playoffs with MTJ.
Yeah, I was gonna go Truex. I just don't think this is his style of track. Chat leaning towards Larson. What?
That's got to be a mistake, right?
I mean, I know that
It's a
he's
super
not a
speed
great
one.
super speedway racer, but like, man, you're burned. Okay, I think give him Larson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of these days, he's going to win one of these super speedways, and everyone's going to think they're an idiot for not picking him.
Yeah. Dark horse for the Cup race, Danny.
Todd Gilliland.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I'm with Danny on this one. I'm going with the Todd father.
I'll take Austin Cindric. He looked really good at Daytona, and I think he also led it. Yeah, he led some laps at Atlanta in the spring. So I'll go Cindric. Chat. They are
I've
catching
seen the plurality is Cindric and the 99 and now the
It's-
38.
Gilliland.
It's Todd.
I think there's a few Todds that came in there that maybe pushed him over the edge, but I'm seeing some Cindrics.
There's some 99s now. Actually, a lot of 99s.
Oh, Harrison Burtons are coming in. I don't know. Yeah, this this is just the dark horse picks. I don't want to spend too much time on it. Give him. I don't know. I guess give him Cindric. I don't know. Maybe
Sure.
some comment. Now there's a bunch of Kyle Bushes coming in. Wait, now it might be Kyle Busch.
Wait,
It's
who they
Busch.
take for a suck pick? I forgot. Oh, they took
Larson.
That's
All
right.
right, give him Bush as their dark horse. All right, fine, whatever. Jeez, calm down, people.
Sound like Foghorn Leghorn, man.
Win pick. Who's gonna win the Quaker State 400, Danny?
This kind of goes back to one of my predictions. Only one playoff driver will win a race in the first round. It's too late, but Kyle Busch will win.
Okay.
That's a solid pick. You left my number one pick on the board. I'm going to go with him. He's just the dude is just solid in these Atlanta races. Now watch, I say that he'll crash, but I'm going to go Ryan Blaney on this one.
I got my number one
And the
pick.
chat's
Yo.
mad because that was what they were going for right off the bat.
I'll
Called-
take Joey Logano.
See, I did that. I went with Logano in February, and it was like really good until he self-cleared.
Yeah, he's not gonna do that again. He's not gonna make the same mistake twice. Logano's my pick. Chat.
So it's a toss-up between, I've seen a lot of 6, I've seen a lot of 24, but I feel like I'm seeing 24 more.
a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
think
Byrons coming through.
They're going
And
Byron.
a lot of Brads
Dude,
now all of a sudden.
There are a lot of Brads.
I
I could do
6 and 24.
Let me do a quick poll. Oh my gosh, I cannot type on
We should,
this.
if we were doing two on two, you know what we should do? Like 1-on-1. We should have like a third one, just be like third party, like supports neither. See who votes for who. That might actually help us with our tiebreakers, or it might make them worse.
It might not. All right, or it might. We'll close this poll in like 10 seconds. So place your votes quickly.
I think they're going Brad.
Oh, all right. 5, 4, 3, 2. We got almost 100 votes in. Over 100 votes in now. It's close. 51% said Brad. Wow, that's
Chose
close.
Bradley Keselowski.
I demand a
Wow.
recount.
That was, I mean, shoot, we need a runoff. That was tight. All right, you guys got Keselowski. Not a terrible pick. Kind of bold. Not terrible. I like that. All right.
I like it.
Okay.
That was my second pick.
Yeah. Thank you all for voting, chat, and thank you all for getting us over the 700 like mark, allowing us to do the random driver of the week. Now it's time for our final super chat stage break. Appreciate the support tonight, y'all.
Noah Coleman.
Ross-
Brad Keselowski won this poll.
Thank you for the super chat, Ross Crashstain. In my opinion, at least, being number one at a growing spire with Rodney Childers is probably an upgrade over being the fourth Hendrick car with Blake Harris. If the Bowman rumors had turned out to be true, that wouldn't have been a bad fallback plan. It's fair.
I like Hendrick.
I would probably rather still stay at the super stable, super power organization, but that's a valid point. Captain Tanker Joe, I believe. Truex crashed into Blaney during the spring Darlington race as well after Truex suddenly came off the pace and got loose. Surprised they didn't blame Byron again this week. Forgot about that. You mentioned it, I think, Jared, at the top of the show. I totally forgot the correlation between the two incidents. Blaney's mantra this week, stay away from the 19. Fred Dog 81. Sometimes I want to scream at MTJ like Apollo Creed did to Rocky and Rocky 3. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. I've not seen Rocky 3. Sorry. So I hope I'm not butchering the cadence of that chant. But I appreciate a good reference. Well done on that one, Fred Dog 81. Will Griffin says, if I'm a team owner, I don't sign a charter agreement. By the way, charters and even the top 35 rule suck until winning in is gone. DVP is gone and we get real practice. I honestly want the playoffs and even the chase abolished.
Wait,
so Will Griffin,
is that true? Sorry.
Is what true?
I just saw apparently the Cubs threw a combined no-hitter.
Hey, good for them.
Cool.
That's always fun. Will Griffin here wants to go back to 2003 and before, I think is the most simplest way to describe their comment. Top 35. Yeah. So they don't even want to go back to top 35 or like the previous era. They want to go back like 3 eras, which, I mean, that's valid. A lot of fans feel that way. It's not going to happen, but it's wishful thinking. Dominion 42 with a very generous super chat. I was at Darlington in person again. The only major passing I saw happening was due to the differing tire strategy. Cars on the same tires were all spread evenly. Every time the leader pulled away, they just ran away. Package? I guess there's a package concern. I mean, Darlington has had dirty air problems for a long time, but with this car especially, that's been very prevalent. It's a very narrow racetrack where kind of the two most usable grooves are right there on top of each other, and at a certain point in the run, the wall is the preferred lane. I mean, Kyle Busch, his car wasn't as good as Chase Briscoe's down the stretch, but he did have fresher tires, and we saw that make a difference up until he got within 2 car lengths of Briscoe, and then it was hard for him to make any real progress. So, I mean, the cars are very aerosensitive. I guess we know that. I don't know what the next thing they should change should be, but I will say the racing at Darlington was better than we've seen at other tracks because the tires did wear out, I think, a lot faster and a lot steadier than in other places. So
because of that, I'm really excited for Watkins Glen.
Yeah, at the very least, I'm very curious to see how Watkins Glen goes. Palm Tree 82. I'd love to see the championship, the championship or cutoff race. That was my all-time favorite race. Watching the points and scenarios, all race was exciting. Yeah, so another vote for keeping Darlington as the regular season finale. Absolutely.
Let's do a poll on that really quick if you have the chance.
Sure.
I'd love to see what people think that are out
like
here.
What should I ask? Like, where should Darlington be on the schedule?
I'd say what would you want as a regular season finale? Daytona, Darlington. Because more than likely, I think Daytona will win, but I'm really interested to see what people think.
Well, we got a lot of people have been listening to us this whole time rave about Darlington. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up going.
I definitely felt like it had a possibility to be,
recency bias.
exciting as the finale. I didn't but I just didn't know if it actually would or not. But I think Daytona is probably more consistently going to be interesting.
That's, I think, a fair point as well. They're leaning Darlington, though. It's not a blowout by any means, but they're definitely leaning Darlington. Valenzuela Jr., thank you for the 5. The last 2 regular season champions have had bad playoff runs. Elliott and Truex got 2 top 10s apiece. Will this curse befall Tyler Reddick? That's an interesting point, especially last year. Truex just faltered instantly, struggled through the playoffs, limped to the round of 8 thanks to all the playoff points he'd collected earlier in the season. I don't see Reddick slowing down. He's been so steady this summer for 3 months straight. I don't think they're going to blow it. I think he'll be fine. Daniel Meredith Jr. says, like to see Kane race in Xfinity or trucks at Rockingham next year. Casey Kane he finished second to Matt Kenseth in that final cup race at Rockingham in 04.
You know who I want to see in that Rockingham race? One of them?
Who?
Jamie McMurray. He was insanely good at Rockingham. I think he won like 4 in a row, I think, in the Xfinity Series. Almost won that race we're talking about. He finished 3rd, but he was in the running. I want to see Jamie Mack have one more shot at glory.
Heck, put him in the Hendrick 17.
I'm down with that. Put or
like
a Spire truck, whatever it has to be. Get him in a good ride. I want to see Jamie Mack get one more shot.
I like it. Lewis James, this is my first year as a NASCAR fan. I've been to 2 races, Southern 500, North Wilkesboro. Also, Riley Herbst to 2311. Also, Reddick gets championship before Denny. 45 forward together. Herbst to 2311. Ben the Rumor. Good shot there, Jarrett. Ben the Rumor. It seems like it's making slow progress. I don't know what they're waiting on. Maybe it's not happening. Maybe it's a done deal. I don't know. If it's a done deal, I think we know already. 2311 doesn't like to hold on to those announcements for very long. They like to make them quick. So I don't think it's a done deal yet. We'll see. But that's awesome. Welcome to NASCAR and a couple of historic venues for your first races, Darlington and North Wilkesboro. How about that? Hope you had a great time. Richard Kennedy, thanks for the 2. Newest member of the NWP was born at 5:41 today.
Aww.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
If I'm interpreting that correctly, congratulations, Richard Kennedy. That's awesome to hear. Justin M. Drake says return of the Bristol summer race. Yeah, it used to be in August. It keeps getting pushed back to September into the first round of the playoffs.
We went to that last one that was in August in 2019.
Oh, was that the last one in August?
Because the next year I went with my brother to the one in September, but I remember because when we went in, I was like, hey man, you should bring in some sweats or something just in case it gets cold tonight. It's supposed to get a little chilly. No, I'll be fine. I'm from Illinois. Then about 100 laps in, it got like really chilly, seeing your breath chilly, and he's like, hey, so how soon till we leave? I'm like, Riley, there's 400 to go, buddy. We're in here for a while, and I paid way too much. I drove way too far to leave 100 laps into a race that I really want to see. He liked it, though.
That's funny. That's good. I probably should have. I'm skipping one on accident. VA Sensation says, would Bowman with Rodney in the 7 be better? We had a comment like this earlier as well. I mean, Rodney Childers is great. Are we overvaluing him a tiny bit? I mean, Josh Berry this year with Rodney, and granted they don't have the best support around them, but like they've been okay, nothing special.
That's just the potential there. Like you see the flare ups. Like I had that question asked to me on Sunday night. Like, if Rodney Childers and Josh Berry are that good, why are they sitting like 23rd in points? And it's like rookies weren't all like Denny Hamlin competing for a championship.
Yeah,
like this,
it's a rookie.
It was the flare ups. Like it was like those, like people always talk about Dale Jr.'s rookie year and how good he was. Like people forget he had 5 top 10s or something like that on top of his 2 wins. Like he was not very good, but he had those flare ups. Matt Kenseth, same way. I think he finished like 13th. Won rookie of the year. Everyone said how good it was. Like he won, I think, a race, maybe 2.
It was
like,
one.
It was one. The 600 though. It's a huge flare up. So like that's I think that's the part with the Rodney Childers, Josh Berry thing that people like. There's so much potential that we're not going to see at least for a while. That it sucks. But I'm sorry. I'm sticking with, if I'm Bowman, I'm sticking with Hendrick. I'm sorry. The Spire's gotten better, but it is not Hendrick Motorsports.
Yeah. And on that note, maybe should have read this earlier. Matthew Brown, a follow up to their earlier Bowman post, says, I didn't say he shouldn't or wouldn't be in the 48. I just said that if Bowman wants he wants the rumors to stop, then he needs to do better. Chill, Danny. I'm a Hendrick fan too. With laughing emoji.
I mean, I feel like he's done better. He won a race. What more do you want to know?
That's true. He did win a race.
Yeah.
Irvin Alvarado, thank you for the 5. I don't want shorter races. I want a 24-hour endurance clash in Daytona with Garage 56 cars, full ass field with driver changes. Team no sleep.
Hell yeah, let's do it, man.
Lucas Hansen, if you can't enjoy a 500-mile race, you truly don't like racing. Go watch a demolition derby, smooth brains. Ooh.
I love
the
it.
smooth brains on him. Wow. NWP after dark getting spicy. Thanks for the comment, Lucas. Point for Jarrett there and Jarrett's rant. Daniel Meredith sent another one here, actually 2 in a row. Which crown jewel would you watch more than the other? For me, it's the first Southern 500, second Daytona 500, third Coke 600, and last is Indy. Yeah, so how would you rank them? Would you rank them in terms of like, he says watch more than the other, but like maybe it's like ranking them in terms of like significance. Which would you, if you were a driver, which would you want to win most?
No, I think this. I want to go in more to the vein of his question. Like,
okay.
If you had to choose one crown jewel to watch, what would it be? And a while back, 600 would immediately have been out of the question for me.
It's been a good race recently, except for the rain.
I'll put the Brickyard 4th.
Yes,
it was hyped up.
Agree.
It's Indianapolis with stock cars. It's not going to be the greatest.
Agree.
I've become more cynical with super speedway racing, so I'm going to put Daytona 500 third, and simply because I'm sick of the wreck 'em, stack 'em, wreck 'em again mentality the 500's gotten.
I would still, man,
600 second. I'm going Southern 500. It's just Darlington.
Yeah,
I feel like
would
Darlington's
agree.
the purest form of racing for a crown jewel that NASCAR has now. Like quality, significance of the sport, even what it means to the area. Like Charlotte, Daytona Beach, and Indianapolis will be fine without those races. Darlington, South Carolina, I've been there, there's burned out cars on the side of the road. Like that place would die without the Southern 500, without that track going.
That's probably true.
So just everything for me, the Southern 500 has been so elevated since it came back in 2015 to that.
You're selling me on Southern 500. I still feel like if I had to watch one on TV, I would probably still pick the Daytona 500 just because of the build up and the pageantry, the payout. Yeah. Like that's probably what I would still pick. But I'm with you that like if I'm just there to watch the race, the cars on track, Darlington, Charlotte probably get the edge. It's tough.
If I have to factor in everything, I think my top 4 goes Daytona 500, Coke 600, Southern 500, Brickyard 400.
Yeah, we all are consensus that Indy is 4th. Sorry, Indy.
And that's not disrespecting Indy. It's just that it's like those other 3 races are so significant to the sport. And like when I say Daytona's 3rd, it's like those top 3 are so damn close.
And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but if they just eventually decide Indy goes away, I put my number 4 going to the Bristol night race.
I think I agree.
Yeah,
or Chicago Street.
Chicago Street has to stay around long. That for me, like
we had this debate in July.
Bristol night race is classic, been around for a long
I would agree with Bristol. I'd put Bristol.
I'm open to Chicago being put in that. It's just it's got to stay around. We got to run full damn race. The thing for me,
that is true.
The problem for me with Bristol, and I love the Bristol night. Like I would go the Bristol night race over all of these because it was insane in 2019. It's the least watched race of the year.
Yeah,
like I don't
crazy.
I don't know. And I know it's part of it's USA and part of it's going against college football on a Saturday night, but like it wasn't like that on cable in years past. And it's like if the fans don't care, can you really call it that much of a crown jewel? I get Darlington's not as viewed as the others, but it's still up there. I personally would have it in the like that top of the second one, but
yeah, that's how I put it. In that like second tier, just below the actual 4 crown jewels, it's like Bristol night race. And
it pisses me off, man, because Bristol fans watch short tracks, but they don't watch them. Bristol is amazing, but they don't watch it unless it's a spring race. Funny enough, it's like, come on, man, this is like the best, one of the best races of the year, and people don't watch it. What the hell, man?
Preaching to the choir. To the choir.
I'll start ranting again.
Oh no, let's
in my
let's
head,
gosh.
man. Get out of me head.
All right, we got some super chats to talk you off the ledge here. Fred Dog 81. This one's for me. Eric, didn't get to ask this last week, but now that you've done it at Daytona, what track do you want to do the racing experience at next? Yeah, Daytona was pretty insane. I would want to do Texas, my home track. I think I'd love to drive next time I do something like that. I'd love to drive it. Texas would be cool just for the nostalgia. Nas Carson says, "Hey NWP guys, Southern 500 weekend Cup. All the race was great since SHR beat Larson and finally won in their final season. Glad you enjoyed it, Nas Carson." Shorty PJM. Payne Bubba Wallace is an in, but him getting pole 1 hour from me is forever a highlight. Plus Kyle not being in is great. Celebration emoji. Rooting on 12 plus 22 plus 45, 48, 2, 9, 99, 24. That's the way to do it right there. It's like half the playoff field they're rooting for. Good luck, Shorty PGM. Hope one of your drivers wins. One of your many selections gets it done. Another one from Nas Carson. Xfinity, Sheldon Creed should have won Darlington. Thanks, Cup drivers. IndyCar, Milwaukee. I loved all the race weekend and their racing in Wisconsin. Yeah. It's still shocking me that I don't think there's any Wisconsin races on any of next year's NASCAR schedule. There's very much a disappointment.
An interesting tidbit about the whole Rockingham coming back. It's run by the same people that ran the Milwaukee race.
And I hear the Milwaukee race was not great.
That's the same people that run the fairgrounds too.
Oh,
Track Enterprises, Bob Sargent, all of them. So I'm interested to see where that goes. But
having met the Rockingham one, at least at the time, the Rockingham owner, I don't know what his exact title is now. All I know is when I met him, he was an interesting character. Didn't talk much about racing. Mainly wanted to talk about other stuff. When I was trying to ask him, maybe he saw me as like a nosy reporter guy, even though I don't think that was what the vibe I was giving off. And it was just like, I don't want to talk about on-knowing negotiations. But he just wanted to talk about the lasers he had installed in the Cup garages. That's what he wanted to focus on. In fact, he specifically asked if I could come back at night so he could show them to me.
have a freaking EDM party in the
and I was
abandoned
like,
Cup
can't,
garage.
Man. I think I had I think we had the show that night, and I'm like, I can't come back, man. I got a stream, but I'm sure your laser light show in the Cup garage looks great.
You do the show from Rockingham, it's like going off like that. I'm like, Eric, what's that song? Darude Sandstorm.
Anyway, yeah, sorry. We're getting closing on 3 hours here. Rocks, reviews, and reactions. Man, Darlington was a scary time as a Truex fan. I believe it. That's got to be helpless. Garabuki, fun fact, aside from a 29th place finish in March of 2023 due to the DVP clock, Suarez's average Atlanta new configuration finish is 3.25. Kind of crazy. So take out one DNF. When he doesn't DNF, he has an amazing average finish. That is something to watch this weekend. Hey, I have Suarez getting through the round of 16, so maybe I'm happy with that stat. Isaac, you know what tomorrow is? Lightning McQueen Day, 9/5. Ka-chow. And finally, from Alessandro Sebastian, I know the 24 season has not ended yet, but which driver is under the most pressure heading into 2025? Who has to perform to keep his ride?
Ooh.
Even though he just won a race, Chase Briscoe.
Is that a I mean, I know multi-year deals don't mean a whole lot, but I don't remember if that was a multi-year deal.
I feel like we've seen this show before. He's gonna be on a tight leash at JGR.
That's possible.
Let me pull up the J-Ski chart because I wanna see what the contracts are looking like.
I mean, it'll be your usual. A lot of guys probably on like 1-year deals. Like,
I imagine Suarez will be on.
Oh yeah, he's on a 1-year deal. Good point.
Suarez
is definitely an interesting one.
I'd definitely go Suarez. I'm looking at the others though. I mean, let's see. There's a lot of multi-year.
Kyle
deals.
Busch is on an expiring deal, but I don't know that he needs to prove a little bit that he's still like good. But he's Kyle Busch. Like someone will sign him most likely or be interested at least.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I'm looking through, and there's two guys that caught my eye here. One of them's kind of going to be a little shocking, but I think one's Cole Custer, simply because like if Haas wants to stay around, like they need to perform at least in some way, like they did at the higher end this year. The other one's John Hunter.
His seat's not necessarily cold; it's the team. Yeah,
John Hunter Nemechek. He's going on to the last year of his deal. He has been roughly around the same area in points as Eric Jones, even though Eric Jones has been hampered with injuries and has been
I mean, Jones missed 2 races, and I think is still ahead of
Yeah.
Nemechek in points.
Yeah, and to be fair, there's not really many that are signed for 1-year deals, like, or expiring. Like Spire with Carson Hocevar, I don't see Hocevar really having too much of an issue.
He'll
Bowman
end
still
up
has
somewhere
2
most
years.
likely, if not, yeah.
Yeah.
The Hendrick guys should all be locked up, and
Ooh.
Bowman, there'll be rumors pop up every 6 months, but everyone else should be fine.
I mean, no changes expected, but Tyler Reddick on the last year.
Unless it's Hamlin himself driving a third car, whoever the third car is for 23XI, I feel like it'll be kind of a hot seat right off the bat.
If they put a rookie in there, I would hope they don't throw a rookie to the wolves and then say, you didn't live up. Like, I hope they don't pull a Zane Smith track. Yeah, but like I feel like everyone's kind of like, damn, Trackhouse, you really did that? Like I would hope 23XI doesn't do it. Although, to your point, Danny, they're basically cousins. They're basically, mirroring each other's growth, it seems. So
That reminded me of a video I'm going to show you guys.
Well, on that note, we have one more super chat from Bobby Blair saying Chicken Weekly Podcast. No chicken talk this week because we're closing in nearly 3 hours. Love the Houston Texans logo there, Bobby. NFL season opens this week. Watch the Atlanta race first, but then TiVo or record your team's game and go back and watch the NFL after Atlanta.
How are we feeling about our teams this week?
I think I'm playing the Colts. Texans-Colts. Well, I don't even know if it's at home, but we'll take that game.
I think there's way too much hype brought into the Bears, and Titans are going to shock.
I hope y'all beat the Bears, man. I'm tired of the Caleb Williams hype, man.
I think there's way too much hype, and Titans have done some great offseason stuff.
I shouldn't be rooting for the AFC South team, but I will in this case.
You can root for AFC South when they're not playing AFC South.
I feel like that's when I need to root for y'all the least, almost.
Vikings, Giants. I mean, the Vikings are a better team on paper, but it's been a rough off season, man. I want the Vikings to win simply because the Giants deserve to lose in those ugly throwbacks they're playing in. If Sam Darnold doesn't have a meltdown game, I think Minnesota takes it just for having Justin Jefferson alone. But the Vikings, no matter what era, like to play down or up to their competition. So it'll probably be like there's a reason that it's Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma on the call and not Tom Brady.
You should not put me 18.
Kenny Albert here. Whoever loses this game will be defeated through the first 8 weeks of the season. What do you think, Jonathan Vilma? I'll go Vikings, but I'm not confident, and that's
Noah
bad.
In the chat says my team is NASCAR. Good way to end it.
Saturday football. Jarrett Notre Dame is playing
NIU.
NIU.
They better beat their ass. Ugh. I'm going
congrats on the big Texas A&M win. That was impressive.
And in Texas plays Michigan this weekend.
Let's go. Hook 'em. Woo.
Tennessee playing in a Duke's Mayo Classic against North Carolina State.
Oh,
hell yeah.
Blue Jimmy, who's a Giants fan, said, "Thank you for calling our unis ugly. I hate them too." Okay, I was worried. I
think everyone hates them.
I'm actually going to be going up Friday to Indiana University to watch their game. I don't care about the game itself. My cousin's in the band, and so
nice.
Yeah, she's been kicking ass.
That's fun.
So, but I hear it's a really cool stadium and fun place to be. So. And they're favored to win that one.
And the Hoosiers are a halfway decent program. I think Tennessee had a really close bowl game against them a few years back. I think they only won by 2.
I'm excited for it. My family my family went to a few of their games to see my cousin play, and they said it was they said it was pretty nice stadium, fun game. But yeah, I mean, the last time I was in Bloomington, Indiana, I was dropping her off at 6 a.m. in the morning after we went to an Avenged Sevenfold concert and then had to drive 4.5 hours back. And I think I ended up staying up for like a total of 37 hours from the Friday before into watching, I think it was an Atlanta race or something.
That's like the most Midwestern thing I've ever heard. 37 hours awake, tons of driving across state lines, heavy metal, and NASCAR.
There's a story. I can't tell this story on YouTube for fear of getting taken down, but I'll tell you guys after about the weirdest gas station at 3 a.m. in Kentucky I've ever been to. It's insane. I'll tell you guys after we get off the air.
I feel like nothing good happens at a Kentucky gas station at 3 a.m.
Yeah,
it was hard to believe.
It was bad. I think
it's one of the 2 Buc-ee's in Kentucky. I can't imagine it's good going at 3 a.m.
Buc-ee's are good all time of day.
No, it was It was. I'll just say this: outside the people in my car, I think the total number of teeth of like the 4 people around us was like 3. It was bad.
Okay, that sounds right.
It was like
Hey, I do want to offer a valid criticism of Buc-ee's in Daytona Beach. After the Xfinity Series race, I went to the Buc-ee's a couple miles down the road. Granted, it's like 11 p.m. midnight, but the place was still packed with race fans, and they had like 2 poor souls working behind the brisket, the beef counter, trying to keep up with. There was like a line of people waiting on brisket sandwiches, and I'd never seen.
I just imagine at 3 a.m. It's hard to get the confidence. Fresh brisket on the board.
It was like 11 o'clock. But yes, my more thing was who's managing this Buc-ee's, and did they not know there was a race in town this weekend? You need to stock up the 11 o'clock, time slot.
Eric, was that the same Buc-ee's we went to when we saw the couple that just got married, like
probably
woman in her full wedding dress running
in the Daytona Beach Buc-ee's parking lot? That's right.
And I'm like, hold on a second, and like Eric rolled down the window for me, like, congratulations, thanks,
and they were like, thank you, Beaver Nugs. I don't know. Yeah,
dive into the Beaver Nugs. It's getting a little too late.
Yes.
Talk about honeymoon activities now.
3-hour show, very nearly.
Goodness, it is almost 10 o'clock. How are we doing this?
And Danny is sick, man. He's putting together a stronger performance than Tyler Reddick. Everyone give him a round of applause. Chat before we go. Round of applause for Danny B.
I'm actually shocked I'm still on here because Jared said earlier that I could leave after we did like race predictions, and here I am still.
Because Danny's a trooper.
He's a trooper.
We need to, that's gonna be Danny. If we have any intro, like if we do like a fantasy draft with all of us or whatever, your intro is gonna be "The Trooper" by Iron Maiden. You know that song, right?
Chad is applauding. That's it. That's gonna do it. We'll see you next week, Wednesday night, the Iceberg, 8 p.m. Eastern. Enjoy Atlanta, folks. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Okay.
Drivers!
Long it.
Start your engines!
Ready. Green flag. All rolling. All the way out. Stay in. Come on. Bye-bye, on in. See you later. These guys are really good. Keep digging. Stay in the gas. Hang on, dude, baby. Did not hit a thing. Why are you waiting so long, man? Bottom for clear, shaking you down here. White flag. Hit your mark.
Shout out my internet for not dropping frames all night.